I saw it pre-release.
Okay.
And I did.
Did you do a review?
I dedicated a full film column
Yeah.
to a complete review, and just hated it.
Yeah.
But had so much fun writing this review. I was having fun with it, and I was trashing it, and I was calling it stupid, and it's an insult to the entire culture of Oklahoma and what it means, and things that I found genuinely offensive, like the whole concept of El Reno after what happened to the actual storm chasers out there, and that whole issue. And I got ripped apart. For about 2 solid weeks, I was like public enemy #1 in Oklahoma City. People hated me. Everybody had it out for me.
I remember when that was put out. I don't know that I read it because I wasn't interested in that movie whatsoever. I was like, this is okay, whatever. Like, I love the original. I think the original is great. I haven't seen it in a long time, but...
I mean, it's just as stupid, and it's just as anti-scientific.
Yeah.
But, and I make this really clear, actually, up front in my review of Twisters.
Yeah.
The first one is at least, like, fun enough.
Yeah.
And it kind of knows how dumb it's being, and it's watchable. It's got a great cast full of, like, legends. And that alone kind of makes it watchable, even though I've never really been that much a fan of it anyway. But I was a kid and probably saw it like 20 times.
That's the thing. It's like I remember watching it a ton when I was a kid, and it's like I never had a problem with it, honestly, ever. Especially even growing up here and knowing a lot more about, you know, tornadoes and what they are and the science and everything, at least just as much as anybody does growing up here, you kind of become aware of that. But because I think that as Oklahomans, you should be offended by that movie.
Well, and that was really one of the big arguments that I was making was like, this is insulting. I think it said, like, I'd have to pull it up, but like the headline of the article, I think, is like, Twisters is an insult to science, Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's wild. But,
and that was really the whole idea behind it was like, it's so stupid. If it was fun, if it was a really enjoyable movie, if it had memorable characters or anything, you could kind of forgive it.
Yeah.
But what it ended up being was the amount of local pride that people had decided to take in that.
And I remember that too, as I was working at Channel 4 at the time, and it's like everybody, and it's like Emily Sutton, like they were featured on one of the screens in there.
Indeed they were.
And they were, because I working there, like they were doing tons of promotion for it and everything too. It's like they were proud of it.
Oh yeah, and like they were on the record going, "Oh, the science in this movie is airtight."
Okay,
like, no, nobody believes that.
Like I said, I was just actively trying to ignore it at the time of the release. So.
But no, I mean seriously. Later that day, I published that. Later that day, a guy stopped me in the grocery store in person.
Wow.
I was like, "Hey, you're Brett, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Dude, they are lighting you up on Reddit, man."
Holy shit.
And Reddit was just down my throat about how I don't know anything about weather science and I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's so crazy.
So.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creative Inclinations. This is a podcast. It's a one-on-one conversation-based podcast about art, music, culture, entertainment, and more with me, your host, David Steele. And this week, we have a special guest on the show. This is Brett Fieldcamp.
Hello.
Welcome. Thanks for coming. Yeah, this is exciting.
No, of course, I'm a fan.
Thanks. Yeah, you mentioned that. It's always interesting to hear when people, it's like, oh, you listen to the show? I mean, I know a lot of people do, but it's just, I don't know who exactly. You know?
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's like everybody knows that I do this, but it's like, there are people that's like, are you actually listening, or are you just hitting the like, which I appreciate.
No, I mean, I got to know what other people are talking to local musicians about.
Assume,
You talk to Cage and Brandon from Lunar Division and everything.
There's like cool. It's like kind of a part of your job to even pay attention to stuff that other, because we're in the same boat, which is why one of the reasons why I've wanted to have you on this show for a while, because you always covering, you are a musician, you're a journalist, and you cover a lot of local arts and music and do interviews and stuff. But recently you were promoted to, I don't know if it was a promotion or just kind of a title change, but you're the arts and entertainment editor for the Oklahoma Free Press.
Oklahoma City Free Press.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Oklahoma City Free Press. I do have it written down.
Yeah, and that's super cool. It's I'd call it a promotion.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like it's a huge but yeah, exactly. It just kind of focuses the specific scope of work that I'm doing.
Because you already were doing that anyways, pretty much, but now it's your main focus.
Right. Now, granted, it also, for the first time, it kind of puts me in a position to work with a lot of our other freelancers. So besides myself and the other, primary owner and founder of Oklahoma City Free Press, we're the only two, like, technically full-time kind of locked people. Everything else is freelance. And, it's cool because we've got specific freelancers that do specific things and we love working with them. This kind of takes a lot of their work off of the other guy's plate and lets me really kind of collaborate with those freelancers more to kind of, direct a lot of what our arts and entertainment coverage is. Because, like there's loads of great live theater in Oklahoma that a lot of people aren't covering. They might cover Civic Center and Lyric Theater.
Yeah, with the smaller kind of things.
Way smaller stuff. The Carpenter Square just had a really cool one, and we've got a woman named Adrienne Proctor that does all of our theater coverage. And so this kind of puts me in a position with her, for example, to
kind of do collaborations.
Yeah, and to kind of coordinate a lot of that with her. So
awesome.
And then really to expand, which is something that we're really looking to do a lot more now. So
that's awesome. Yeah, because I've been reading the articles you guys put out for. I mean, even since before we met, I remember because I knew who you were just from your name on the headlines and stuff like that, on the byline or whatever. So like, and reading your reviews, music reviews. I'm a musician. That's been my main focus for over a decade. Playing music and stuff like that, so I'm always aware of who's writing the reviews and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep tabs and things like that. So it's
and me too. And there was a period of time where, and we've got some absolutely awesome local people that are like really kind of digging into the local scene now and writing more stuff about that. I think that you and I are both friends with the Martin DePross.
Yeah.
And Jeremy, and I'm really kind of Lauren too, but Jeremy's doing music now for the Gazette.
That's like, so whenever, because I knew about who he was before I even met him too, through the community and stuff like that. And so because of that, I mean, he's worked for the Gazette and written music reviews for them for a long time.
But there was this period of time where like a lot of other stuff had kind of fallen away, and I started getting all these people saying, man, you're like the only person that's still writing about the local music scene.
Right.
And I was going, I don't want that kind of responsibility.
Yeah.
and worse than that, I also make music. Who am I supposed to send it to?
Right, exactly.
So that I'm so happy to see all these other really cool people kind of coming out and hitting it.
No, the Gazette is back, and Jeremy's now a big part of that currently. So that's cool. So okay, let me get into kind of one of my first questions. Is I always like taking it back to even childhood or whatever. But like, what was it that first got you interested in journalism? Do you remember? Was there any early memories or anything?
This is such a weird, difficult question for me. I have no specific thing that I can pinpoint. Right. I think what it is, and like the once or twice that anybody's ever asked me, like, how did you get into, reporting or whatever? I always have this specific thing that I go into. I make this delineation between like there are reporters, and there are writers, and either side of that can be journalists. Right. But like a reporter to me is like, it's like an Edward R. Murrow or somebody that's like a newsman,
trying
right?
to like dig into uncover the story and things like that.
Somebody that is prioritizing beyond all things the information and, relaying that information to the public, right? Getting to like the heart of a story. Whereas for me, that's a hugely important part of any work that I do in which, that's the goal, the kind of news side of things. But my primary goal as a writer is as a storyteller.
Okay, yeah.
So it's so difficult for me to think of like, how did I get into journalism? And it's like, well, journalism is kind of a way to get paid to write and tell stories.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what got me into that,
sense.
you know.
So is it like, is it a better question to ask like, what made you want to be a storyteller or a writer? Did you want to like write novels or something like that when you were a kid?
I still do.
Yeah,
I mean, I still like, you know, every single journalist I've ever known, I think, has an unfinished novel sitting around. And that's definitely still something I want to do. And also, you know, full length journalistic and essay type stuff.
Nice.
If I was to try to pinpoint it on something, it's my grandmother.
Okay.
My mother's mother, who was just massively influential at every single level of my life and childhood. And we were always extremely close. And she was just a real natural storyteller.
Okay.
She retained information.
Yeah.
And then when she relayed that information, it was always with, you know, whatever added zest and enthusiasm.
Just the details and things like that are just kind of,
And I mean, even when I was a kid and like a young kid, she and I would just sit around and just talk for hours, and she would tell crazy stories about the family, and I would tell her about God knows what. And so
whatever.
And so I don't know. I've always come from just a really conversational family, and I've always come from a family that prioritized, you know, knowledge and information. On my father's side, it's like this whole line of teachers, like English teachers. And so that grandmother was really, really just into books and science fiction, and she was into Star Trek, and she was into Vonnegut. And then, so I don't know, there was just something in my brain that the older I got, you know, I was always writing. And then the older I got, and probably not even until late high school and after, did I kind of whittle that down to like
kind of figuring out what you're going to do.
You know, something maybe kind of more sustainable in a way. But also just the idea of kind of breaking down the concept of, you know, to be a good storyteller, it has to be entirely creative. It has to be entirely, you know, developed out of your own mind. And starting to understand that you can be just as effective as a storyteller, and you can have just as much fun personally just writing the stories, even if they're just entirely real and about real people. And then
you're relaying what's happening over here to these people over here.
Exactly. And then that ends up coming through, you know, so then simultaneously to that is just lifelong fascination with music from like the day I was born practically. And we'll dig into this more probably with other questions. But in terms of like professionally, how did I even kind of get into journalism? It was through music journalism. It was specifically through writing about music.
That's kind of, was that your first like thought was like, oh, I can write about music? In
exactly. And it was seriously just about like, the writing is one thing, but in my mind I'm like, oh, I'm getting paid to talk about music, which is what I do anyway. So I can do 1,000 words on anything, so
but music is like, that's what you're passionate about, and like, so that's the most fun, I'm sure. So I guess kind of a similar question, but it's like, did you grow up in Oklahoma, I assume, or you Oklahoma City, or
born and raised in Moore?
So cool.
Lived my entire I mean, with the exception of 2 separate like 8 or 9 month stints in Norman. I lived in Moore my entire life until I moved to OKC in 2021. So other than that, I mean, I was, you know, even the whole time that I was, you know, working in OKC and spending all my time in OKC, I was driving back home to Moore every night.
So. Which is, that's not too far away. I used to work in Moore, like for, I guess, a few years, I guess, but I still lived in Oklahoma City, so it's like, you know, 20-minute drive, if that. So, I consider Moore as, you know, Norman I don't necessarily consider part of Oklahoma City, but I mean, Moore is like just
so
close.
Well, it's all the metro.
Yeah, even Norman.
But admittedly, growing up and living in Moore for so long,
it used to be a lot more separated. I think,
for sure. Yeah, they're running more into OKC. They've kind of already done that with South OKC. Now they're working on, driving more south and driving Norman north, and they're basically just going to end up meeting in the middle.
Right.
But moving to OKC from Moore was a little bit more of a culture shock than you might even really expect. Like there's Moore's not an especially visually diverse place.
Yeah.
It's primarily chain stores, chain restaurants, being able to live in the city now and like, not only just the scope of diversity when you walk out your door, but the idea that my wife and I can make it a very specific and intentional point to like, oh, we're just only going to eat local now.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just only going to try and shop local now.
You can do that and get away with, especially these days. I always think about like the kind of farmers markets and things like that they have. I mean, you can literally just buy all your stuff that's just all made here and grown here.
Or even like, a Homeland. I consider Homeland a local business. Right.
Yeah, that's like employee owned and things like that.
Yeah. Sure. And so I really love that. But, we spend so much of our time at bookstores.
Yeah. That's great.
Primarily the floating bookshop, which is like our second home at this point. We're there like 3 times a week.
Nice.
But just being able to do that and having that capability of knowing, like, I feel more a part of an arguably smaller community living in OKC than I ever felt in Moore, because there's just not really like a cohesive community there.
Like, that's definitely, I mean, you can kind of see it, because I've always kind of kept my eyes on, like, even like just where, you can book original music. I mean, that's something that I'm passionate about. So it's like, I'm always like, and there's like 0 places in Moore. Yeah. Always have been.
They tried like, multiple times over and over, and they just don't work.
Right. I mean, and that's a whole other conversation. But it's like similar with Edmond too, for whatever reason. You would think there would be, but
Edmond has its scenes. And Edmond has some really cool stuff. The Herd on Herd series is always awesome. They get great crowds and great artists. And
that's a lot of original.
Edmond has a pretty shocking jazz scene.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, they have like, I mean, with the college and things like that. But I know they have like the jazz lab or something like that.
And after midnight or something like that, or is that what it's called? They got a really cool new little like jazz bar, cocktail bar up there that Kendrick McKinney plays at, and I think Kyle Reed has played there a bit.
That's great, because
Round Midnight.
I think Edmond is starting to grow. I mean, it's weird because I DoorDash now, so it's like I've learned. I've never spent a lot of time in Edmond, so I don't even know it, like where anything is.
Yeah.
Till now, it's like I have been spending a lot more time driving around and delivering food and stuff like that. So
that was a really big thing for me. Yeah. So I, years and years ago, going on 20 years ago now. I worked for the Oklahoman, but never as a writer or anything. I worked in the field, which is delivering papers.
Yeah, okay.
And like I wasn't like a delivery boy. I didn't have a route, but I was
dropping them off at different.
Yeah, I was called district assistant was the position. I had a pager that all day long I would just get addresses, and they were people that called up because they were missed. They didn't get their paper, and I would take people.
So you kind of learned about the city and
areas. That job specifically was the bottom half, the southern half of Cleveland County, and then basically all of McLean County. And so I learned every single street in all of Norman. Then, a number of years later, I spent at least 5 years delivering flowers around the metro, specifically based in OKC and around the metro. And so then did the exact same thing, all the way from North Norman. North Edmond all the way really to Norman. Yeah. And just learned everything. Learned every inch of the city.
Yeah, that's what's something that's interesting to me now, because it's like I'm doing that pretty much full time. I mean, I've been trying to create a photography business or do some kind of media thing where I'm making money doing that. We'll see where that gets me, but hopefully I think it will get me somewhere. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm kind of doing DoorDash as my bills and things like that,
Yeah.
which is working. I mean, I enjoy it. But it's something fascinating about doing DoorDash. Is like I'm learning so much more about this city that I've been here for my whole life.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of starting to see and kind of even meeting different people. I mean, you go into these different businesses and things like that, and it's like I would have no business being here otherwise, or even getting to see it. So that's been really fun.
Or even just driving past something and being like, "Oh, that's a cool sounding restaurant I never knew existed."
Yeah,
you know?
So I've been learning a lot there. But anyways, so yeah, that was interesting for sure. So I wasn't sure where you grew up, so that's cool to hear. And
my experience growing up in Moore arguably has informed every single other aspect of my life.
Right, yeah, so. Absolutely. So, okay, kind of getting back to the journalist. I always ask about this, but it's like, as far as like, is there any, you talked about like your grandma and stuff like that, but it's like, are there any like people that influence you as far as journalism, or like, do you look up to like any, prolific journalists or anything like as influences or idols or something like that? I don't know if that's a big thing
the people personally that influenced me with it. Okay, so this tends to surprise people, I guess, given whatever position I have. But like, I didn't go to college.
Okay,
I don't have any kind of a degree or anything. Technically, I did one semester at OCCC.
Yeah.
And flunked out and never went back because I didn't care.
Yeah.
And I barely graduated high school.
Okay.
I can't do math. Yeah. I am horrible at math. I love science, but I don't really have a head for equations or anything. So for me, growing up through school, it was always just the words. It was history, social studies, English, language courses, literature courses. So in terms of writing or storytelling or even essays and everything, there was a handful of teachers that I just had coming up through, even junior high and high school.
Kind of had a major impact on.
Yeah, I had an English teacher named Mrs. Boyd. She was awesome. She was into Tool, which I thought was the coolest thing in the world. I had some great teachers coming up through high school. I mean, there's no way that I end up where I am and have been over the past few years without this really deep love of like understanding government and politics and the mechanics of it underneath. That is 100% attributed to a teacher named Liz Butcher that I had my senior year of high school at Moore High. I literally entered her class. It was AP Government, senior year. And I entered her class like the first day with just like arms crossed. I think I'm so cool, telling her like, you're never going to get me interested in politics. You're never going to get me interested in any of this. The end of that school year, the class ran a mock election, and I stood up and ran.
Oh, cool!
She completely changed my entire perspective in terms of government and political interest. And so, because of that, that's the only way, really, that you're going to be able to really make any headway in journalism.
Yeah, kind of understanding how all that stuff goes.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then, honestly, man, I mean, the single biggest influence I've ever had in journalism is Brett Dickerson, the head of Oklahoma City Free Press. He knew my work. I introduced myself to him once, kind of on a lark.
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, I know you. I've read your work." And I was like, "Oh, that's crazy and weird." But he was a public school teacher. He retired as a public school teacher. And so he still has very much that kind of mentality.
He
wants to
fostering minds and
exactly. And so he still has that. He still carries that into his own editorial work and working with the freelancers. And that's been just this huge influence because he's so good at letting you know how to kind of break new ground professionally. But he's also firm enough to just kind of like expect you to do it.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's a really big part of it. It's just kind of being like, oh no, just do it. Just have the confidence that you're allowed to, which I think is something that a lot of people don't really give themselves the confidence to just say, oh yeah, like
Yeah.
You know, if I have this job, then I deserve this job. And if I deserve this job, then I deserve this information from these people that I'm reaching out to. And so when he's like, you know, reach out to Congresswoman Bice's office. And I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, reach out, get a statement, make it happen. I said, okay, cool. And then you learn how to just annoy people. So, that's a lot of the journalism.
I want to get back to that in just a second, because I definitely want to talk about how you got involved with them. But I guess I'll go back just a step. Is what was your first job at getting into journalism? Like, how'd you get into it?
Boyd Street Magazine in Norman. Some people will remember Boyd Street.
I know the street. I don't know the magazine.
I've actually heard that before. They're like, you just worked on the street?
Yeah, but
the offices for Boyd Street were on Main Street. They weren't even on Boyd. Right. It was not affiliated in any way with the school. I say was past tense. I'm not 100% sure if Boyd Street still exists or not. The magazine, not the street. They may. I know that way after I was ever dealing with them, they kind of changed format and became way more like OU sports focused.
Oh yeah.
But they were just a small little magazine. I think it was bi-weekly, and you know, really great production and presentation. You know, glossy pages. You know, all kinds of local advertising and everything, and they had, you know, just a few different sections in there. You know, there was like maybe a movie column, and there was some food stuff, and there was obviously sports coverage because it's Norman. Yeah. And I would pick it up pretty frequently because I was always around Norman.
Yeah.
I loved the music coverage in it because it was written by Becky Carmen, who is this fantastic. I mean, if anybody keeps up with, especially over the last, you know, 15 to 20 years, even really, you know, local music coverage or anything, you know, Becky's a huge part of that. Well, so I used to read that. Again, wasn't in college, had no degree, originally wanted to go to college for writing and just couldn't stand the school element of it, and was like, I know how to write. I'm just not going to bother with this.
And I think that's great just to comment on that, because I think it's awesome to hear that you know, that this is your career and you've been doing it so well. And it's like you don't necessarily need a degree to get into something like this, or you know,
you need a lot of
you need to know how to do it.
You need a lot of tenacity. Like you need a lot of time. I mean, I freelanced in my part time for 15 years before it was ever my full time thing. But I mean, seriously, and then you need luck, and luck really is the story. I had still one of my closest friends was dating someone that knew Becky a little bit. Enough to know that she was about to leave Boyd Street. And she was, and in fact, because she was leaving Boyd Street, I think, to step up to the Gazette. And so that word kind of got back to me of like, oh yeah, you know, Becky Carmen's leaving Boyd Street. They're going to have this opening for the music page. I had no professional experience. I had nothing published or anything, but if I remember correctly, I reached out directly to Becky and was like, you don't know me, but I read your stuff and I really want to write about music. She basically, I think, just kind of, I think she just maybe gave me the email of the editors. And so, you know, again, it's all just this kind of just like chest puffing confidence of like, nothing says I can't ask for this. Right.
It's like, just see what happens.
So that's what I did. I emailed them and said, I would love to do this. I don't have any experience, but I believe that I'm the right kind of person for this. And they said, okay, do you have some samples? And I was like, sure, the samples, no problem. I'll send you some in tomorrow. I had no samples.
You had to come up with something real quick.
What I did was, I wrote about 300 words for the 2 most recent albums I had picked up.
Okay, just like, not local, just anything.
Yeah, just literally like this is the most recent stuff I'm listening to. I'm listening to it fresh. I wrote up just like knocked out like maybe a couple 300-word reviews, and then wrote 1,000 words about the most recent concert I had been to, which was Coheed and Cambria at the Dallas House of Blues. And it was amazing. I could still do 1,000 words on that easy. And just knocked all of that out and sent it. And they were like, "Okay, cool, yeah." Like it was.
When you start,
it was one of those things where they're like,
"That's awesome."
Okay, yeah. I mean, like that just basically makes it easier for them. They didn't have to put out for it or anything.
They didn't have to like go and find. Because I imagine finding somebody for that role is like you're gonna try someone, and then they don't work out, and so you have to keep.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it definitely shows. I think that something goes into it for sure is like that you had been practicing, you've been getting ready for this moment for years. I mean, since you were a kid, I'm sure, like, so you just had that opportunity to, show someone that that was the what you had, and that's all it takes, I think. But it is to say that it took you whatever 10 plus 15 years to get to that point of like practicing and doing it every
writing, for sure,
writing
and the other biggest thing that I tell people, right? So I got exceptionally lucky in that my very first ever professional writing gig, I was, at least nominally the music editor of a magazine. And that's usually not necessarily the way in. And granted, this was also, again, like 20 years ago, so things are different now, right? But I've had a number of people that'll reach out and ask me like, "Hey, how do I get a gig like writing about music? I want to write about the local music scene."
Yeah.
And I go, "Okay, honestly, you're probably not going to immediately.
Right.
That's definitely something that you can kind of work toward." But at the same time that I was writing music, I mean, even for Boyd Street, I was writing other stories. I was doing cover stories, I was doing, local, not news, but
just whatever else.
Yeah, like 06, 07, whatever, I was writing about like, tattooing had just become legal in Oklahoma. I was doing stuff about that. I was talking about the real early conversations about the potential for marijuana laws in Oklahoma and how nobody ever thought it was going to happen. So I was still even doing a lot of that stuff. And then, even now, when I really kind of made a run for it and kind of made it a full-time thing, I tell people all the time, your goal is not to have a job where you get to write the way you want to write about things that you like. I tell everybody, if you want to actually make a go of it, you have to write for everyone that will let you, and you have to write whatever they want.
Yeah.
So, my work for Non-Doc, a lot of my work for the Gazette, all of those are they're just kind of taking assignments. Maybe you get a chance to pitch, but like, I spent an entire year from June to June writing a story about the growing potential water scarcity of the state of Oklahoma for Non-Doc.
Yeah.
That was not my pitch. That was something that Trey Savage at Non-Doc suggested to me.
Yeah.
It was just the most, it just kept getting bigger and kept getting deeper and kept getting crazier. But again, in my mind, it's all storytelling.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking that, because I think ultimately, if you want to be a journalist or a writer or whatever like that for paper or news, it's like you have to, and say you just love movies and you just want to write about movies, well, it's like you have to kind of dig deeper and be like, is this what you really want? Because you have to, it is that storytelling. If you love storytelling, then you should be able to do any of it, because that's all it is. And I think that's kind of the core to what you have to you really have to love if you want to do this.
Well, yeah, and also, everyone thinks about how cool it would be to write about music that they love. Nobody really thinks about how you also have to write about music you don't love.
Yeah.
And you also have to listen to a lot of music to find something that really sticks.
Yeah.
And dig and dig and dig to find connections and find artists that you want to talk about. And there's so much. I tell people every single chance I get, people say, oh, it's got to be so cool to be a writer. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, I love it. I genuinely do. Writing is 20% of being a writer.
Yeah.
The other 80% of the job is learning.
Okay, yeah.
That's it.
You have to take in the information first, and then...
And so that's, I mean, again, 80% of the job. Mm-hmm. And the vast majority of that is interviewing. Yeah. Right? Which is something that a lot of people don't really think. I mean, that's a huge part of music journalism. Yeah. So... yeah, people are always like, oh, cool, I wish I could just write. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I could just write too, but that's not the job. Yeah.
It's like, even then, I always think about that. I mean, if you're like any kind of artist, I mean, but particularly like, say you're a novelist and you just write like fiction, right? It's like you still have to go out and get something from the world and bring it into what you're going to output.
You would hope.
Like, I mean, that's like, you talk about like Vonnegut or, like these people that, that write about their life experience and stuff like that. It's like, that's what it is. It's like you have to live life and take something in to then output something else.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that.
But it's.
I mean, it's the exact same sentiment as the musical side of it. Yeah. Something I bring up all the time is why Lauryn Hill says that she's never made another album. She made the one album, The Miseducation. And everyone since then, it's been 30 years now, maybe. Everyone has told her, you got to have another one, you got to have another one. And her excuse has always been, yeah, but that album was the culmination of whatever, 2 decades worth of life before it. Yeah. She's like, if I just go back into the studio, then my only life experience to draw from is being in the studio. Yeah. So she's like, no, maybe there'll be another album one day, but it's not going to be until I've lived enough.
Right. That makes sense.
I love that.
I think that's, and I thought about that a lot too with musical artists, because it's like whenever you have that new artist that comes out and it's like, oh my God, this, album is so incredible, because it is that they've been preparing for that album their entire life and they put it out, and then it's like, and that's why always the follow-ups, and it's like they get progressively worse almost with every band.
I mean, it's the old adage, you have your entire life to write your first album and you have a year to write your second. Yeah. My favorite sophomore albums are always the ones where the band or artist so clearly sees the opportunity that they have. It's the same thing with films. My favorite films from a lot of directors, they're either the second film or the second album, or they're the very next follow-up to whichever one finally broke. Yeah. And it's always because it's those artists or filmmakers or writers or whatever that understand they're in this position, they're being given this opportunity, they might not ever get the opportunity again. Like, and so they pull out all the stops, man. I think all the time about Clarity from Jimmy Eat World. Okay. It's this incredible, I mean, it's the most dense and adventurous album they ever made. And it's huge and sprawling. The last track just keeps evolving. It's like 20 minutes long or something almost. And, it's stuff that they never really did again, like even the next album after that's a lot more focused and a lot more. But I love that mentality of when they go, okay, we have an opportunity here. We're not going to squander it.
That's also, I think, goes into like the budget. It's like, oh, people will give you money now after you make something that's a hit. And then it's like, now you have all this money to do whatever you want. So it's like, I always think about that with Kevin Smith and Mallrats. Yeah.
I love Mallrats to death. I can quote every single line of it. It was my way into Kevin Smith. Right.
But
there's things that they do in that movie that are only done because somebody was saying, here's a bunch of money, you can use it whatever you want.
Because he did Clerks, and then was that the second?
Yeah, Mallrats was second.
Okay, so yeah, it's definitely it's like he had an actual budget. He had zero money for Clerks, and then he had all the money for Mallrats.
Oh, and then the first three is what I always find really
it was Chasing Amy,
because then it was Chasing Amy, but it's the same thing with like. You do your first one that breaks you and it kind of shows your attitude. And then the second is supposed to kind of be like realizing your potential. Yeah. Your third film, album, whatever it is, the third then is kind of supposed to be like focusing it and showing what your kind of maturity is, right? So it's Reservoir Dogs, and then it's Pulp Fiction, and then it's Jackie Brown, which like nobody talks about as much as they should, but it might be his masterpiece. You know,
that's the one I've seen the least. I've definitely seen Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs a lot more than Jackie Brown, but they're all great. I mean, but Kevin Smith though. I love Kevin Smith and always found him very influential in that, just from how he started and how he built his career and where he is now. It's all like self-made, I think, to me in some instances. But anyway,
well, and uncompromising. Right. He's one of the most like I'm Kevin Smith, and you can take it or leave it. And I've always loved that.
Yeah, there's something about him.
Kevin Smith was my way into podcasting. Actually,
really?
Yes, it was the original Smodcast back when I was delivering papers specifically. It was just wall-to-wall Smodcast in my car the whole time.
I was listening to a lot of his more recent one, Fat Man on Batman. Yeah. And then, I love that show in particular. But I haven't gotten into him. Something about him, he's changed a lot. He almost had a heart attack. Yeah. And then his life has vastly changed since then. And I found it fascinating, but I don't know. He's also getting a lot older, or he's becoming older. Now he's a lot more like a curmudgeon a little bit. And it's like I had to stop listening to some of
He kind of always was. I mean, I don't know. Well, again, going back to like the Smodcast stuff I used to listen to, and I'd be driving around listening to it in my car thinking like dude, not only are you getting way too worked up about this, but you literally don't know what you're talking. There would be so many times. It's one of the things that will drive me crazy about podcasts sometimes. Somebody's talking about something that I know, and you're like yelling at them, going, "No, it's the wrong person you're talking about."
But anyway, so let's get back to the Oklahoma City Free Press. That's how you told me the full official title. So how'd you get involved with that, and like how long have you been there now? Is that your main gig currently?
It's my
So you do a lot of stuff.
It's my full-time job. Yeah. I'm now, to jump to the end, I'm a part owner.
Okay.
I am the arts and entertainment editor, and I'm one of only two technical employees. Really, everybody else is kind of like a stable of freelancers, which really is how the majority of publications do it.
Right.
Now. Excuse me. Would have been 2021.
Okay.
I'm almost positive it was 21 when I started. And I'm racking my brain trying to remember like the exact month. I want to say June maybe of 21, which is a little bit earlier than I thought. Credit to the Chad Whitehead, I guess, really, that runs the tower.
Okay. I also that name sounds familiar, but
he, coming right out of the pandemic and right out of the lockdowns and everything, before there's been a lot made about a lot of managerial and organizational changes that have been made into the tower and that whole group, and I've got all kinds of thoughts and opinions about that as well. But coming right out of COVID, when it was still, a very predominantly or entirely local operation. Chad and Steven Tyler, who used to be there, and the other people kind of in charge of things, were real adamant about not just saying, "Hey, look, we're going to do a bunch of cool events. Right. Come and pay to be a part, of these cool events and whatever." They started making these real strides to just reach out to the community and kind of create some spaces there for the community. So they started just hosting these like music, like just like artist networking nights. Nice. Where like nobody was performing or anything, but like, hey, if you're a musical artist or something, just come out, hang out, maybe have some drinks, meet other people. Let's like make this a kind of communal atmosphere again. And they did a couple of those music nights, and they were great and desperately needed. And then they said, hey, let's do one for local journalists. Okay. Let's do a just kind of like group community meetup night for writers and journalists. Again, knowing how difficult that whole kind of career was throughout COVID. Right. And that was at the same time that I was really making a big stride to get back into it. So through 2019, 2020, first half of 21, I was technically unemployed. I was kind of running my own business of sorts a little bit. I basically had enough money from all of that to float myself basically through the pandemic, which was really nice. My wife is disabled. My mother's disabled. It required a lot of help during that period. But kind of coming back out of it, I thought, I don't just want to go back to retail. I don't want to go back to the liquor industry, which is where I had been for about 10 years before the pandemic. And thought, I've always done writing in my free time. I've always done it just very freelance. I said, I'm just going to make a go for it. I'm just going to make my bills with writing. I'm not going to give myself an out. I'm just going to start writing full time. And there was a period of time where I was writing for everyone simultaneously. It was the Gazette. I was writing for Non-Doc. I was writing for every single outlet that would have me. And so I went up to this journalism networking thing and was just shaking hands and meeting people. And like I said, in fact, I didn't even actually approach him. I was talking to another dude, and Brett Dickerson walked up to say bye to that guy because he was headed out the door. And then turned to me, and I was like, "Oh, we didn't have a chance to meet. I'm Brett Fieldcamp." And he was like, "Oh, hey, I love your work." And seriously, I was like, "Okay, well, man, can I send you some samples or something? Maybe we can work together." And he's like, "No, seriously, I read your stuff. You don't have to send me samples or anything. What do you want to do?" And so the next day I emailed him, and he came back and was like, we had George Lang writing music and film for us. I don't know if you know George Lang.
That name sounds familiar. But
he's another kind of local legend in terms of.
I read him. I'm sure I've read his stuff at some point.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, just a beautiful, brilliant writer. But such a part of music journalism, entertainment journalism, and then also political editorials and stuff as well. Actually, he's got a great mind for. He had been writing the kind of joint music and film column for OKC Free Press, and when I met Dickerson, George had just stepped away. And so he's like, "Well, hey, we just lost George Lang writing music and film. Do you have any interest in music and film?" And I was like,
one of those perfect opportunity moments.
Exactly. Yeah. But awesome. But it also required me forcing myself to go out and forcing myself to, again, kind of puff up my chest and act confident and meet people and shake random people's hands.
Definitely something that, the pandemic really ruined me in many ways as far as being active in the community. It was it was very tough for me to get back out, and now I'm doing great with it. It took a few years.
I think people kind of rediscovered it. The very first thing that I did, the first real group event or anything, especially indoors, was the first of those music industry networking events that the Tower did. Okay, it was the first of those. This was maybe late February or March of 21. So I was 2 or 3 weeks out from being vaccinated.
Then it's you felt a lot safer at that
point. I did, but genuinely, and I've always been this kind of person. I've always been able to talk and shake hands and meet random people and everything, but I pulled up, parked, sat in my car for 15 minutes and almost had a panic attack. Thinking oh my God, I'm going to be in a room full of people. And it was, it took some time to kind of start feeling comfortable about it again. But that's
awesome.
That was Free Press. And then, after that, it was really just a matter of me saying hey, I'm really into this. He and I clearly worked really well together, and he liked and appreciated my writing. And so then it just became that question of what else can I do? Shoot me anything. I will write anything. And I think my first non-entertainment story for Free Press was the following week or something, and it was about, I think it was the very first thing that I wrote about the housing market of OKC, which has become one of my beats. That's something that I'm constantly returning to. And trying to kind of, help form this real kind of holistic picture of housing and homelessness and housing advocacy. Which, again, was not something I ever had any knowledge in or interest of or anything. But but I just kind of kept saying, yeah, whatever you want, whatever you want, let me take a stab at it.
Definitely, that in particular, I mean, I think is a huge issue and something that needs to be talked about more and figured out. You know what I mean? We need to find some solutions with that for sure. But it's interesting because like by saying like you saying just give me whatever, it's like you start to find the things that you are interested in. It's like, oh, I think I see an issue here. Let me.
That's exactly that is exactly correct.
Yeah.
I've learned about specific things. I've learned about how deeply I care about housing advocacy and about advocacy of the homeless, and I've learned so much about. I mean, honestly, just how much I love talking about like visual arts, right? So like something that I have a film column every week and a music column every week now, but like. My favorite thing to write is whenever any of the museums or galleries have big openings.
Yeah.
We work really closely with OKC MOA.
Yeah.
Every single time that they have a new big exhibit opening.
It's funny that you said that. Well, like, cause I haven't been there in many years. I used to love going there. And I still do.
They got great stuff right now, man.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, because now there's the Ansel Adams exhibit, which I really, really want to go to. And I actually have, I'm sure it was your article, like it's on a tab on my phone that's been up for probably a couple months now.
I've got like 30 tabs open right now in the browser.
Just to remind myself so I don't forget about it, because I have to go to this.
No, honestly, I mean, as a photographer, you've got to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone has seen Ansel Adams' work, and every photographer knows it. There's not really ever been an Ansel Adams exhibition like this before. It tells his story. Like, it starts with some of his very first photographs he took when he was 14 years old, and tells the kind of unfolding story of how he like learned the technology and developed his style over time. And for anybody, I told Dylan Johnson the same thing, right? He's one of the best photographers in the state. And I was like, you got to go see this Ansel Adams thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go for sure, like I said, but it just, but I might not have even known about it, because I used to like keep up with just going to their website and seeing, every now and then to see what's going on. But I might not have even known about it if you hadn't put that article out, you know. So it's like I'm a huge follower of OKC Free Press, and I love all the stuff you guys do.
I mean, that's why we do those things.
Just to kind of
it's not
get the word out about what's going on. So we kind of covered a lot of most of my specific questions about the publications already, which is great. What do you know? Like, what can you tell us? How long has the publication been around? Like kind of the history of it?
Free Press?
Before you got there.
I want to say, I'm almost positive that maybe November-ish of this year, I think, will be 10 years.
Okay, cool.
So I talk about the other Brett. So it's this in joke. We each call one another the other Brett, and like we take emails all the time from people that are addressed to the Bretts.
Right.
He's Brett Dickerson. He has had many lives and many careers. He was like a pastor or a minister for a long time. Then he was a public school teacher. He taught social studies and he taught alternative education. Retired as a public school teacher. Basically, he's the kind of guy that just wants to stay busy. So like in his retirement, he started writing and like became a journalist.
Oh, okay.
I definitely think that maybe at first he was maybe like writing some education type stuff, right? There was just a lot going on that a lot of people weren't writing about. He's got a great head for recognizing things that need to be said that people aren't covering.
I mean, that's perfect for the head of this kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's what you want. So I mean, he originally started the Oklahoma City Free Press as like a one-man operation that he was just kind of doing on his own.
Like a website on the
and it kind of grew from there. It grew really slowly. Like he started kind of making a name for himself, kind of as himself, just like showing up to City Hall, covering stuff, running around town, taking photos and everything. And it wasn't for a while before he started to really kind of buckle down and say, okay, this is going to be a regular thing. This is going to have a schedule. This is like I'm going to almost force the city to accept this as a very legitimate source of city news. And then kind of after that was established a bit better, he started kind of branching out and bringing other writers on. So I want to say that, I've been there now since 21, but I'm pretty sure that it's been for about 10 years now.
That's awesome.
And it's really, really started fully exploding about in the past 2 years, that the whole city is really becoming aware of it. It's becoming a destination for people.
For sure. That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely something that, it's like that's pretty much the only kind of local publication. I mean, I pick up the Gazette and kind of keep up with them.
It's different now, though.
I love the Gazette. Yeah. I've always loved it my whole life. Yeah, it is. It's
it's a monthly now. Yeah, and I mean, and the philosophies behind it are very, very different now, right? So that last period before it stopped for a long time, there was only maybe 3 of us writers left, and I was one of them.
Right.
At the time, I was very honored and very happy, not that the Gazette was ending or anything, but that I technically had the final ever cover story on the Gazette. It was about Pride Month 2023, and I was very happy with it. It was a very big, encompassing story about the history of Pride, the history of the LGBT community of Oklahoma City. I was so happy with it. And then I was admittedly one of the big voices behind the scenes that was really pushing an all digital Gazette.
Yeah.
And then they tried to make that.
Yeah.
Never happened. Everybody said that it was such a stupid idea, and I'm like, well, in hindsight,
I don't know. It is something that I've thought about because I worked for the news, Channel 4, for like 8 years, and I was a graphic artist. I didn't really do any kind of journalism or anything, but it's like something about it. I've always known. It's like even still, it's like that kind of news, like public, TV news, local news is like. It's going to go away eventually. I mean, it's already just on a decline, so it's like they have to do something. You have to do something different. You have to evolve.
Yeah.
And the same thing with, physical paper, same thing. It's like you have to figure something out. There's nothing. You can't just stay the same and hope that it works out.
Yeah.
It's not going to.
And that was the biggest question when the new ownership of the Gazette decided to bring it back.
Yeah.
Nobody knew at first if they were going to bother doing a physical print, and when they decided to, we were all like, okay, cool, like good luck to you. But you don't have to. There was really this kind of sense of like, you don't have to do that.
I'm glad that they do, because I have like a stack of almost all of them. I'm probably missed a few issues, but it's like I try to get them every time, because it's like I like having the physical paper, and I think that there is something about it that's I think, especially the younger generations, I think that they're maybe, I don't know, like they're finding that appreciation in physical things like that again.
They definitely are, which is super cool. Yeah. And, kind of just by trying to pay attention to what the trends and everything are.
Yeah.
And then also kind of just for my own sake, I guess, I'm really, really trying to embrace that recently. Right. I went back out and got, I've always got my record player and turntable set up and everything at home because I love records. But I recently went back out and bought a tape deck and an old 90s Sony like CD player component.
That's something that the tapes are a thing now. It's like with huge kind of reinvigorated market there. I mean, getting those physical tapes and things.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, a lot of artists that you and I both know, like Ex Machina.
Right, yeah. I mean, Jarvix is a huge proponent of tapes.
He's always been. I mean, he's been for years and years, So I in fact, that's actually, I should really shout out Jarvix as well, because
he's in the journalism world.
I mean, and for starters, he's one of my favorite people in Oklahoma. He's one of my favorite people in the scene. He's been a champion of just me and whatever music I'm making for years and years now. But when like I said, when I made that decision in 21 and said, I'm just going to start paying my bills with writing, I'm going to get back into it, he was the very first message I sent.
Yeah.
And I was like,
trying to get some,
Yeah, I said, anybody you can recommend, any places that you think that I could shoot out to, and, anything that I can write for Make Oklahoma Weirder. And so seriously, he was the very first person in 21 to like accept a pitch from me and pay me for an article.
Nice.
I did a big profile of Inferna, one of the craziest, most awesome, most intense hardcore metal bands.
Okay, I haven't heard them, but
and so I tell anybody that will ever listen to it how important Jarvix is to the scene, but to me.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
That's great. Yeah, I think that most people, I mean, he's definitely been an influence of mine while, seeing what he's built with Make Oklahoma Weirder. And it's like definitely, without him, I don't know that I would think that doing what I'm doing is possible. It's like
him and Electra. I mean, Electra, and she puts
they're both like integral.
Yeah, but I mean, she puts so much work into Make Oklahoma Weirder, and just kind of doesn't really care to be the face.
Yeah,
of
it's like because I always, but it is easy to forget Electra because like you said, they're not interested in being in that part. But which is fine. I
can't blame them.
So let's see. I wanted to kind of wrap up. The last kind of thing on the journalism stuff that I wanted to ask was like, because you talked about a couple things maybe, but what's been like one of the most memorable stories or interviews you've had? Like, I don't know if anything. You talked about the gay pride or that whole thing.
That was one of my favorites. Yeah. Man, that is. Because again,
I'm sure
writing across every conceivable topic and everything. I've definitely got a handful of them. I mean, the Pride story was definitely a big one. I loved being able to talk to different people at different parts of the scene. I mean, there's anyone that's aware of the kind of gay, lesbian, and trans communities of Oklahoma City knows that there is kind of this weird schism across the city in those communities. So that was something to kind of navigate even in that story. I sat down and had a really remarkable and informative conversation with Rachel from the Plaza. She's actually kind of instrumental really across all of them in a really cool way. So that was definitely a great one. There's a few different ones actually even before getting into like music. One of my favorite things I ever wrote for the Gazette was late. I think it was in that last like half year before the old version of the Gazette kind of went under, which was actually about the comedy scene. Which obviously is a real big part of what you covered and you talk to and what you do. I know a lot of people involved in the local comedy scene. I've never really been a part of that scene or that community. Right?
I'm really not either, but it's like I am now, obviously.
Well,
and I know everyone now. It's like, and I love it. I'm so happy to have found my way into it. But it's like I've never performed comedy. I have no aspirations to
see. And I, admittedly, as a performer and writer and speaker, there's definitely a big part of me that like I got to get up and do like 5 minutes at an open mic or something.
For sure.
But it was Matt Dinger, who at the time was he was the head editor at what was left of the Gazette at that point, basically. And he was great, man. He's just this gruff dude that liked real ground level stories, you know. And
he was a comic. Is that what you're getting?
No. He was the editor at the Gazette. He was a huge fan of the local comedy scene, and he knew all these comedians. He really wanted a story about the state of Oklahoma comedy, which had changed, just like the nation's comedy scene and arguably the world's comedy scene had changed dramatically since 2020. He really wanted that. He really wanted to write it, but he was doing a lot of editorial, a lot of publisher work. And so he pitched it to me and asked if I'd be interested. I said, that sounds cool, and I'd be interested in reading it, but I don't know anything about the comedy scene. And he was like, "Oh, that's great. That's great. That you'll go into it unbiased. You'll get the real story. It'll be great." And he was right. I loved everyone. I talked to James Neem, who immediately became one of my favorites, most loving people. I spoke to Amanda Carey, who was just beautifully candid, very honest. That's kind of her whole brand, even in her comedy and her voice. But really spoke very candidly about a lot of really, really concerning and problematic and even dangerous and violent stuff going on in the comedy scene. And then I sat down and talked to Brad Chad Porter for like 3.5 hours or something, and got enough for like a novel because he's the most hilarious and interesting guy.
For sure.
And so that was a story I did for the Gazette called Serious Business that I loved. I had fun writing it. It's got like a punchline at the end.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Going way back, I want to say maybe in 2015. And this is actually even kind of another one we'll circle back to, presumably. Like I said, growing up in Moore.
Yeah.
And the same thing that goes through anybody's head when you say you grew up in Moore is like, oh, well, that's where the tornadoes are made.
Well, that's where they like to go for some reason.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do have, and again, presumably getting back into talking about music and talking about my music meteorology and everything, I do have just debilitating, horrific storm anxiety and tornado anxiety. It's informed a lot of my life. It informs a good, solid, probably 3 months of my year, every single year.
Yeah.
I pitched this to the Gazette back in about 2015. I want to say it was 2015, and that was when Jennifer Chancellor was the editor. I said, hey, this is something really important to me, but I don't want to talk about this from like a psychological perspective or something. I'm really interested in reaching out to some people involved in weather science. I want to talk to some people on like the actual, meteorology side of things, about their impressions of things like storm anxiety. And so I spoke with Professor Howard Bluestein, who at the time I believe was the head of the meteorology department at OU, and I spoke to Dr. Barry Moore, who was the director of the National Weather Center.
Okay.
And both of them were two of the most incredible, just deep, informative conversations I'd had. And I mean, that had a really deep effect on me, right? I spoke to Professor Bluestein, who said that when he was young, he also had a lot of anxiety about it. And he grew up, I think, in Kansas, I want to say.
That's interesting.
He had a lot of anxiety about it. And I said, well, so how do you manage it? And he said, basically, I tell everybody everything. When the more you learn about something, the more power you take away from it. And so he became.
That's what I was just thinking. Like, if you're so afraid of something, then you just learn everything you can about it, and then you're not afraid anymore.
And that was exactly that. That is exactly awesome. His mentality. And so I loved that story. For Free Press, again, before getting into the musical stuff, like I said, talking about the housing issue, the housing crisis, as we call it.
Yeah.
It's so easy for people to say, we need more housing. That means that the solution is we need contractors building more housing. And if they're not, then they clearly just won't. And that's very obviously the problem. That is a big part of the problem. I'm not saying that it's not. But
yeah, it seems like it's not that easy to just, or
right,
simple
and
solve.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the one hand, the real kind of radical leftist side of my brain wants to be like, oh no, it is simple.
Yeah.
Tax billionaires and use their money to build houses. Hey, cool, right on. But within the actual confines of the system that we have right now, it is this insane, draconian bureaucracy. And I have this real interest in trying to find every different kind of way into that story. So, after talking with like the Homeless Alliance, who I love, they're one of my favorite organizations anywhere. Speaking with them, speaking with the city and some of the stuff that like the city level government does about city housing and their approach to it. I went and I sat in on like a conference, I guess, like a regional conference of affordable housing building developers. So these are, largely independent contractors and independent building developers that work exclusively in the affordable housing sphere, because that's its own industry that's not really a part of like the other, fully for profit, it's still for profit, but I got this entirely different perspective and learned about these incredibly complicated financial systems and funding streams coming through the federal government that genuinely, they're so complicated. It took me, this is like an all-day thing. It's like a 6-hour conference or something. It took me the first 3 hours until lunch to even understand what any of it was. And then came out of it with this deeper understanding of it and have started talking to people I've talked to some of our state congressmen, like some of our, like state representatives that have never even heard of the programs that they were talking about in this, that are primarily what funds any development of affordable housing in Oklahoma. And it was so eye-opening that they all want to. They all want to just make the houses that people need the way that people need them and make as many as people need. They would love to. They can't because of just this. There's not enough money and people can't get it the right way. And it's so that was this really long, complicated, complicated thing that I kind of went into and learned and wrote. And I tend to point that out to a lot of people, especially when talking about the housing issue.
It's something. Because I don't know, hardly anything about it. The nitty gritty things, but I have, learned a little bit, and it's just from what I remember listening to a podcast or something, and they were talking about all this government, the government and the money and all the, all kinds of stuff. And it's just so messy and complicated, and to where it's like you said, it's so hard to even wrap your head around how that stuff works and how it needs to work better.
Well, and so for then, then getting into the music scene, which is still primarily the main thing that I do. I'm mainly it's about the music scene of the city and everything.
Yeah, that's definitely something. Obviously, I'm very passionate about. That's all I really, I'm almost obsessed with is like performance art. It's I'm just fascinated by talking to people that do it, and it's I've obviously been on stage and kind of know it from that aspect, but kind of let's see. Kind of skip one, but why do you feel it's important to cover arts and entertainment in Oklahoma? Just from your own kind of personal feelings on it. It's
that is very seriously something it's been on my mind a lot lately, because I do think it is more important than ever, given the current political climate of this country, of the world, really. It's happening around the world. It's more important than ever to really kind of hold officials' feet to the fire and have very legitimate governmental and social and political reporting. And as difficult as it is, and as much as it takes a toll mentally, it really, really does. I've been very proud of the work that I've done in that whole kind of sphere. So, when this kind of recent changeover happened, that it's hey, you're going to kind of step up and become the arts and entertainment editor. You're going to focus primarily on arts and entertainment. And a really big part of that actually means not really writing many of those, kind of harder news or city government stories anymore. I did kind of have this internal struggle with it, thinking am I abdicating responsibility for something when people really need this the most? And the answer that I've kind of come to for myself in that regard is, number one, we have remarkable writers that are almost definitely doing a much better job of that than me. Dickerson being one, he's kind of the primary writer. We also have a local writer called Brianna Garcia that does practically all of our just kind of like straightforward, blunt political stuff, covering races and everything. And then the second part of that really is there's been a lot of question lately, and I've had this conversation one-on-one with a number of people in the scene recently of like, given everything that's going on and giving a lot of the fear and confusion and all the uncertainty of everything, like, what is the value of music? What is the value of art or performance art right now? I'm of the belief that it's still one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, because obviously it's a way to speak up, and it's a way to make sure that people are hearing what you have to say about this, and it's an opportunity to make a statement. And even if you're not making an overtly political statement, I think the single most important part of it is that it's a way that we create the spaces that people can still feel community, and they can still feel safe in.
That's what I was, thinking about too. And one of the reasons why I think it's important is the community aspect. That's something that I think that just from the comedy community world, and it's just like seeing that and being a part of that and going to these shows all the time. It's such that, and that specifically is such a communal experience, and you're just listening to people talk about their life pretty much. They're just, giving their perspective on the world, and that's all it is. In the end of the day, stand-up comedy, it's just like, and I think that's so important. But I think it is, like you were saying, that people feel like they're being heard, by when they create art and they get to share it with a community. It's like when you create art, that's a part of yourself and a part of your perspective of the world that you're sharing.
Yeah, so. Again, I understand how a lot of people can say, like, what is the value of it? Is that really what we need? Do we need people maybe taking a step back and listening less to artists and listening more to, political voices or something? And to that, I'm like, well, sure, but you've also got like Kendrick's halftime show, or even here in the city, you've got Linka, right? And Linka drops Chinga La Migra, which is like, it's become this like it's this like rallying cry, and people need that, right? And people,
it's like they need something to identify with that's gonna, like I said, it's just. That's why I think art is the most important thing, in my opinion, for sure. And it's just like, that's why I do this, is to try to spotlight what people are doing.
No, and exactly. Really, to answer your question, that's why. Because, admittedly, because I don't want anyone to drop and forgo whatever kind of creation or art or entertainment they want to do because they don't think anybody's talking about it. The worst thing in the world, something I've actually spoken about a lot, is that, again, I've come up through the performing music world here for 20 some odd years or whatever now.
Seeing it grow.
And seeing it grow and seeing it evolve. Really evolve and really kind of become something cool. But, to me, there was always this mentality of like, oh, you've got these bigger artists and you've got these really well-known and popular artists, and, they're the ones getting press. I'm small, I'm, self-releasing some random single, nobody cares or something. One of my favorite things to do, and something that I try really hard to do every single time that it's a possibility, is I'll do these big like rundowns of, here's 3 or 4 or 5 cool local shows coming up, or I'll review like 4 new singles from local artists in one go. When I do that, I'll try to review something from like, here's the new Bo Jennings, right? Here's the new Jason Scott and the High Heat single or something. And then right next to that,
it's like somebody that's got like 100 followers.
Yeah, I'll try to get some like 19-year-old's first single that they just like dropped. And I don't reach out to all these people. A lot of these people, like, maybe like they know me, maybe they know my work, they send me stuff. But I spend so much of my time just scouring for what's new. And most of the time, people don't even know if I'm writing a review of their single or anything until it's published and I like tag them on Instagram or something. And that's what I want. I want some 19-year-old that's starting out to see their stuff next to somebody that's well known and think, "Oh, okay, cool. I can feel like I'm on a level playing field." Because I think everybody is.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah, I think especially when it comes to like music, I feel like that's just such a, especially these days, it's so kind of accessible to create something, write a song, produce it in your bedroom. And it's like, if it's listenable, if it sounds good, it's just as good as the new Taylor Swift. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's the same.
I mean,
you're just listening to music at the end of the day. It's like, it's so kind of.
Except that there's all this other stuff going on now in terms of AI.
Right. Yeah, that's.
Which I am so deeply and unequivocally opposed to AI in any regard.
For sure.
But that and the way that like Spotify is, in fact, actually jumping way back to an earlier question about like journalists that I look up to, Liz Pelly, who just released a book earlier this year called Mood Machine, which is. It's the result of this like multi-year deep dive that she took into the Spotify corporation to kind of uncover their whole ghost artist scheme. She's a genius. And her work is just awesome in general.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out for sure. So I'm fascinated by that. Don't know too much about. I don't know. I almost feel like I kind of I love Spotify so much for just, I use it every single day. I mean, that's why, and it's like I need to learn more about what's really going on.
It's true, man. If you're listening to Spotify curated playlists, you're listening to a bunch of fake bands and a bunch of AI generated bands that don't exist.
Yeah, it's like I don't. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I need to be more educated on what, like I said, I'm sure that there's a ton going on there.
Well, and like I said, that's one of the reasons that I'm getting really back into physical stuff. I'm rediscovering my own CD collection.
Yeah.
Which I haven't. I went back to my mom's house and got all my big stack of CD books, right? And I've just started grabbing random stuff through it and throwing it in and falling back in love with music I haven't listened to in years. It's great.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. I guess kind of staying on the art community real quick, but what do you hope to see for the future in the, I guess, music and art community in Oklahoma City? I mean, what do you kind of look for as far as it to become in the future?
Very broadly, I really want to see and hope to see a kind of deeper embrace of genre diversity, sound diversity. I know that we already have that, but there is this kind of demarcation between all of them. We don't have cross genre shows the way that I want to see all the time. That's something I write about every single excuse that I have.
I've always thought that that's like, because that's something that, especially playing in bands and stuff, it's like because I used to produce. I mean, I would produce shows for when you book a night at Blue Note or wherever, traditionally anyways, they would give you a night, but it's like you have to put the bill together a lot of times. So I would do that and it's like I didn't really realize that it's like I was producing a lot of these shows for forever because I was the one in charge of that. For the band.
It's just you finding bands and reaching out to people.
But you would always try to like find these like similar artists and things like that. But it's like I've always thought, or more recently, I've thought about like, why is that a thing? Like, who cares? Like, just book. What if you had like a rap artist and a country artist and a rock band? Like, I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's one of my favorite things. The DC scene, the Washington DC scene, back in the late '80s, maybe through the '80s, maybe even into the '90s. DC is another one of those places that has these kinds of competing cultures, right? There is this kind of primarily white suburban culture that kind of lives around it, and then there's a very heavily African American inner city culture. They very separately developed two wildly different musical communities, and so you ended up with DC hardcore, led by like Minor Threat and Ian MacKaye and all that. At the same time that you ended up with DC funk. Right, there was this like DC funk community that was coming out with synthy, bass heavy funk stuff, and they ended up embracing it. And they started just having funk and punk nights.
Yeah.
And they talked the audiences that came out to it.
Yeah.
You know, all these people coming out to dance and go crazy with the funk stuff. And then on comes this just seething hardcore punk band. And it's like everybody's reacting to the same stuff, right? And I love that. I love that to death.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons. Every time I open my mouth, practically, I talk about Original Flow in the Waves being the single coolest, most just electric band in Oklahoma. And that's their entire basis, is that like they're just going to be everything at once.
Blending, full band with hip hop and rap, but also
and just musicianship and just super super cool stuff and flow zone kind of wacky storytelling.
It's like because he'll even do like I've seen him do just like a cappella poetry type stuff.
Or what he did at NMF this year when he got Groovement out and they did this whole like this whole like ninja battle it was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
I missed that this year. Well, Nora Music Fest was weird for me because I only went for the Thursday night. No, man, I must have went. I don't know. I missed like half of it. I don't know, but I wasn't really interested. There wasn't a ton of stuff that I was super interested in as far as the bigger stages go. So I don't know. It was a weird year for me, but
Serious Thunder, yeah. All right, but that's definitely there's cross genre shows. And venues that are willing to take a lot more chances on cross-genre shows. And
really I think with original music at all, I feel like that's something that's a lot of venues are trying to go away from or, not, but...
and so then that admittedly is the other potentially more controversial thing that I can say in terms of what I would really hope to see in the community, which is more diversity of venues.
Yeah.
Specifically in a certain big, continuously sprawling family of venues that are all sharing a big ownership now. And it's not just them, though it is kind of primarily them. I want to see fewer tribute shows and dance parties. Yeah. It's all tribute acts and dance parties now.
That's something I've definitely noticed recently in the past few years for sure. It's just like, okay...
It's because they sell drinks.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I don't know. I think a lot about just kind of, because in my opinion, too, and it's like, and I don't know, I've talked to a lot of different people about the music scene. I always ask, it's like, specifically musicians, it's like, what do you feel about the scene and things like that? Because in my opinion, it's like, I basically kind of gave up in some ways. It's like, I'm not playing with anyone right now. It's like, because I feel like playing original music is so hard. I mean, obviously putting a band together, writing stuff, I mean, that's hard for sure. It's like, I'm willing to do it. But the problem is you do it and then you can't get booked. And even if you do, nobody comes out to see you, It's like, tough, it's so disheartening. And so I kind of like, I don't know. It's like I currently don't feel the drive to do it than I did even a couple of years ago. But I don't know. I do think that there's something that's, and I think that it's specifically an Oklahoma City problem for as far as the audience. I don't know if they don't want to see original bands. I think
it's tough.
I think there's a lot of stuff. Obviously, the world's changed. Tastes change. I think rock music is kind of out for a lot of people.
I mean, in a big way, or it's changed significantly, right? So like OKC has sounds, music, right? Like I mean, OKC has like kind of defining genres right now, right?
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of exciting artists because that's like there are a ton. Like I think of like Neo Monet is doing awesome stuff. Like you said, you mentioned Linka and like Cat Lock and like so many cool like specifically like female artists for sure.
That's one of the things that OKC has. I mean, I just recently talked to Lindsay Cox for my show that I assume we're probably going to talk about in a minute.
Stepmom there.
But I mean, Stepmom is exploding.
So it's like nationwide. There's like a lot of great music here, but I think but even going on all those examples, those can be like almost seen as like singular, like not like a band. It's like, they're obviously they have bands, but it's like they're focused on like a singular artist.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about that when we talk about meteorology.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing that I've noticed is like that people do support that kind of stuff, but they won't necessarily support, like, I think that maybe it's like a public taste.
There's some interesting thoughts that I have about that. OKC is notoriously not a concert audience town. Notoriously,
I think
Johnny Manchild, who will sell out venues all over the entire country and will tour Europe or something. He can't sell out a room in OKC, and it's his hometown. That's all of his friends.
Yeah.
People don't come out to shows the same way. It's why they stopped doing shows at Ponyboy.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of places, I'm sure. Like, even, like, I always think of Speakeasy. They used to do a ton of original stuff. It's like now I think they quit for a long time. I think that maybe has a lot to do with pandemic too.
Yeah, well, there was definitely like a really slower start kind of getting back into it. Speakeasy's doing loads of really cool shows lately.
They're doing now,
and they're also leaning on dance parties and DJ stuff and everything. They don't really do tribute acts, which I think is cool. Because like a dance party or a DJ night or something, hey, that's cool. That's turn the bar into a club. I love Speakeasy. I love the dudes that own it and run it. They've actually been really good to me and really encouraging to me with meteorology.
Yeah.
But to that point about like the vast majority of the very clearly visually demonstrably successful acts that we have being female acts. I genuinely think there's something to that, and that was a big thing that I was talking to Lindsay about. It didn't make the episode, but we were talking about how she, in addition to doing Stepmom, in addition to also having her own radio show on KOSU, she is also like the talent booker for Factory Obscura.
Yeah. And that's I love Factory Obscura for that reason. They're such a champion of original, new creative stuff.
Yeah, I mean, all in visual arts and interactive arts and everything.
All of it.
But then from Lindsay's perspective, I talked to her about what is very clearly a kind of insistence on booking female artists and how that is so important, and how like there's even like Instagram accounts that are dedicated to pointing out how few women get booked. There is something to be said for the. This is going to be one of my more controversial statements. There's something to be said for the way that women have come out to start supporting one another.
Yeah.
And especially in those particular kinds of environments where, a lot of these female artists, a lot of these women are playing these, or non-binary or what have you. They'll be playing these places, and they will have these support groups that come out, and they come out to show their support, and they will dance and they will enjoy themselves and they will make the place something. And that's what venues want to see. Yeah. Venues want to see like, you're going to, getting some people through the door. That's cool. Getting a crowd through the door that's going to enjoy themselves and is going to dance and is going to drink and is going to make the place somewhere that other people see the energy and want to be. And like I said, genuinely, this is something that Lindsay and I were talking about it. And she's like, I don't know why it is, but there's just a lot more young women that are really, really getting into it. And I was like,
that's cool.
I have a theory about that, and it's that the majority of guys the same age that would have started bands all started podcasts instead.
Yeah. I mean, that's really funny, because that's I was just thinking about this earlier, but like this is what I'm focused on now and not so much music. It's like and I love this because I'm getting to meet so many people, and I think that I'm getting to learn and be a part of the community so much more than I ever was just being in a band.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that this is something that I love to focus on, and And yeah, it's interesting to just talk about.
Well, and that really is my perspective on it, and that's something that I've talked to a lot of people about on my show. Even is kind of where they started and where they ended up, and usually how that's two very different things. I mean, Kyle Reed is one of the most genius, talented musicians I've ever known, and pre-pandemic, especially, was making this real kind of name and career out of performing a lot and touring a lot, out of writing and recording a lot of his own music and playing on everybody else's music. And, during the pandemic, he couldn't tour and couldn't play and everything. And that's when he really started really kind of buckling down and understanding this mechanical engineering side of his brain so much better, to where he started, developing these amps and his own circuits and all this other kind of stuff. He talked to me very, very honestly about how that has allowed him this entirely different way into that same community and has afforded him this entirely different level of respect from that community. And so that, I think, is really kind of the driving force. There's a lot of people that get into music because they have so much music in their heart and mind and soul that they have to make and they want people to hear. And then I think the majority of people get into music because they want the community and they want to be a part of the community.
I think that's exactly it for me. I've told this before. It's like, I mean, anytime I talk about how I got into music was like, I never had any aspirations of being a musician. I'm a bass player for one thing. So it's like, I don't like write songs. I don't like do any, it's like, I'm not a songwriter. I'm not a singer or anything, but it's like, I think that I do love music for, listening to music and have a deep appreciation for most types of all genres. I mean, I think I like certain songs from every genre, in different variation, various levels, but yeah, it was Nick Campbell, who's usually on this show with me. He's now into comedy, but he always wanted to be a singer songwriter. I mean, he still is, I guess, but
that's the Bill Hicks thing.
But it's like
every comedian wants to be a rock star, and every rock star wants to be a comedian.
But I think that even back then he really wanted to be a comedian. I think that was his favorite thing, was being on a stage and telling a joke before a song or whatever, talking to the audience. Yeah. But anyways, I mean, we've talked about that, he and I anyways, but yeah, it was really him. He wanted to start the band. So I was like, okay, well, I got a bass and started learning. So we started a band together and I kind of fell in love, but I think that ultimately it was the community for me too. I mean, even back then it was like, I loved meeting new bands and getting to know them and making friends and
having something to do on a Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah, like I said, being accepted into something, I think, was always the kind of goal. So, yeah, I think that's definitely, I think for most people, that's all we really want, is just somewhere we feel like we can belong.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
We are now taking donations to help support Rhythm and Wit. It's called buymeacoffee.com/rhythm and wit. And that is where you can go and just donate any amount. I think that what they do is, it's called Buy Me a Coffee. You can buy us 1 cup of coffee. Costs $5, so you can just donate $5, and that will maybe buy one of us a coffee.
Yeah, so we'll sip on it together.
We'll split it. So you can do that, or you can buy us 10 cups of coffee if you wanted to. So I mean, that's like a $50 donation, and then that's all goes there. You can leave us a message on there, and if you do leave us a message, we will certainly read it on the air, and thank you for your support. And any of the money that we take from Buy Me a Coffee, or any donations at all, we are going to use to put back in the show, whether it's buying new equipment, maybe some mics or cameras or lights or anything like that, or maybe even promoting and just trying to grow the audience, because that's something that I'd like to get into, is buying some ads and things like that to try to grow our audience that way.
Absolutely.
And of course that costs money, so we would love it if you could support us. If you have the means, please go to buymeacoffee.com/rhythm and wit. Rhythm and Wit. I kind of want to get into On the Scene, your radio show. I think it's been. My question is, when did you start? But I'm pretty sure it's been a year ago.
It's been
a little over
just
a year.
Barely over exactly a year ago.
So I was looking at,
it was the second or third week of July last year. And I know that because I had the first episode ready to go before we had a locked title or anything for it. And it was, I mean, it was ready to go. I talked to Jay Masty about the upcoming What I Do Summer Showdown from last year. And it was going to happen that weekend. So I was like spamming KGOU going like, are we settled on a title? Do we know exactly what it's going to be? Is it good to go? Because if this is not going to air this week, I've got to scrap this, turn this into a Free Press article, and make an entirely different episode.
Put it out somewhere.
So exactly. Because and that's one of the nicest things actually now is that I have so many different avenues for telling people stories that I just kind of invite everything. I'm like, hey, you got anything going on? Hit me up.
You'll find it where it needs to be.
I'll find something cool to do with it. You know. So. On the scene on KGOU.
And then
Thursday evenings at 5:40. Thursday evenings at 5:44 p.m. And then again Friday mornings at 6:45 and 8:45 a.m. And then streaming anytime on KGOU.org. But that was actually something that it just kind of came my way again through the community, through the stuff that I was doing. So, like I say. Every opportunity leads to the next opportunity. And I think that's the case for everybody. It's not like you just kind of keep lucking into stuff over and over. Right. It's like you keep developing things and you keep yourself open to whatever the next development of that might be. So I was at Free Press. Like I said, my favorite thing to write at Free Press, seriously. I mean, as much as I love the music scene and everything else, my favorite thing to write at Free Press is the museum exhibit openings. So OKC MOA was opening the Rose Family Glass Collection, right? Selections from the Rose Family Glass Collection. And I went up in there and saw that and wrote about it. And it's incredible, just like mind-blowing collection of glasswork art from all over the world that was, compiled by this one family and then donated to the museum. I wrote all about that and put it out. And then Free Press got a message from a dude that was like, hey, well, that collection was donated by my wife, actually, and her sister, right? They're the Rose family. I actually own a vinyl listening bar up on Automobile Alley, and I really liked Brett's article, and I thought that he had some really great kind of insights about the collection and everything. I'd love for him to come check it out. So that was Jay. That was Jay Schenker that runs the soundbar.
And you went there to write about their place.
Exactly.
Right?
So I went up there to just kind of check out the soundbar, write about it, loved it, started hanging out there all the time. And then the following year, I guess, when and then so Jay and I became good friends, and he would call me up and let me know about cool like speakers that were on sale somewhere or something. When the Gazette did kind of go under, and they weren't really able to get the whole digital plan up and running, that was in the middle of a summer, and I kind of needed the money that I was going to stand to lose then.
Right.
And so Jay was like, well, hey, why don't you come, pick a, like I said, I did like 10 years in the liquor industry, had a liquor license and everything. Jay was like, well, why don't you come, pick up some bartending stuff at the sound bar for a little while. And, it's not going to be a hard job or anything, but it was an excuse to kind of go hang out,
It's like it's kind of a nice place. It's like, I've always thought about that. If you're going to work at like a job that you're not necessarily want to do, but it's like if you're doing it somewhere that could, you can talk and meet. I mean, that's a perfect place to work if you're interested in music.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. And I got to work early in the day when hardly anybody was coming in. Nice. And like before the soundbar's like nightly kind of themes or playlist kicked in. So I basically got to open the place and then just play whatever I wanted to play. Yeah. So that was the dream, fun, really. And so I was there for a while until Free Press was kind of ready to take me on full time and could kind of do that. And once that was on the table, I told Jay, like, hey, I'm going to have to go ahead and step away. But Jay and I had become close. He definitely started really understanding my voice and my perspective and my, I don't know, my love of the scene, really. And he had been talking to KGOU a little bit about, you know, he donates a lot to KGOU and kind of works with them and knows a lot of their kind of organization. He had really just kind of been talking to them about, like, I think you guys need a show that's a little bit more in tune with, like, the local arts and music scene, which has really kind of always been something I think people tend to look at KOSU for, right? So for KGOU to do that, you know, they've always been a bit harder news, you know, jazz in the evenings.
Because which one was the spy? Was that KOSU?
That's KOSU.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what Jarvix is on. That's what Lindsay is on.
I wasn't aware of that, I guess. I mean, I kind of confused the two, obviously, because they're both, you know, both NPR type, you know, basically. So it's like, I just don't recognize the difference between. I guess I didn't realize yours was even on KGOU until today.
A lot of people don't. Even when I was developing it, and I would tell people, I'm doing the show. It's going to be like, you know, the local music scene and art scene.
I knew it was on the radio, but maybe I would have assumed it was on KOSU.
Yeah, and everybody was there. Was like, cool, KOSU, and I'm like, no, KGOU actually. And that was so cool. Now it was so cool for me because I love the people at KOSU and the Spy and everything that they do. Ryan LaCroix is like a giant in the scene.
He's definitely, I'm sure he still does his Oklahoma Music Minute and stuff. It's very similar to what you're doing.
Yeah, quite a bit. Well, and then Matthew Viriapa is also over there. He's actually become a really good friend of mine, and he's also this genius writer. He was the guest writer that we brought on when Dickerson insisted that Free Press do a review of my album.
Oh, okay.
Which we might also kind of get into. I was opposed to it. I was entirely. I was like, no, we don't need to do that. He was like, no, we absolutely should. So I asked Matthew Viriapa, who does a lot of local music coverage for KOSU, if he'd like to come on and do that, and then basically connected them, and then just completely stepped away from it. I was like, I don't want anything else to do with this. I cannot be involved. But yeah, that's also where Lindsay's Lounge, and then that has the Jarvix Hot Dog Song of the Week, which is always great. And I love all of that. But
yeah, it makes sense that KGOU wants to be a little bit more like that and have their own type of.
Well, absolutely. And so that was huge for me, because for as much as I love all that KOSU stuff, I'm a KGOU listener.
Oh, really?
And I have been for over 20 years. And I tell people, I'm like, look, I'm not a company man. That's not just me saying. It's because even when I was like a teenager, when I was at my very first job while I was still in high school, was working at a movie theater. And obviously you work at a theater, you tend to leave pretty late.
Yeah.
I would drive home every day, like on every school night, and I would put on KGOU because I've always liked news and I've always liked jazz.
Yeah.
And if you want news and jazz, you listen to KGOU, right? And then I always loved their Sunday morning programming and their syndicated game shows like Wait, Don't Tell Me.
I used to listen to that a lot. I used to be because I was a huge NPR listener, and I listened to KGOU for the NPR programming stuff, and I listened to KOSU for the Spy stuff. So it was kind of I would listen to both for a while, but it's interesting because I was thinking about this before you came today, because I stopped listening to NPR. It was actually. I was a huge listener for many years, like kind of in college and like even out of college. And then, but this was all during the Obama administration.
Oh, yeah.
So things were good. And then I remember.
Easier to listen to the news.
I remember specifically whenever I stopped listening, because I listened through the Trump election. And then and I listened to it after too, but it was so depressing after that. Yeah. And I was just like, I had to stop. And I even stopped. I remember this coincided with me not watching as much late night TV also during that time, because it was just so sad I just had to kind of block a lot of politics and stuff away when, during the first administration, and then now currently. I never kind of went back.
It very much is. I mean,
but yeah,
my wife and I have a YouTube channel that we love called Internet Today.
Okay.
Two dudes, Ricky and Elliot. They just kind of talk, provide kind of like analysis, insight about news, politics, everything. And we love them. We watch them a lot. Our consumption of their channel has dropped significantly
this year.
Because it's just and honestly, their demeanor on their own episodes have changed. It's more angry, it's more fed up.
But that's I don't know. I don't mean to bring up that kind of political stuff, but it is something that obviously, I mean, it's like you allude to it the whole time. It's like the times are terrible.
Well, it is, but I do think that even though it wasn't necessarily part of the thinking behind developing the show, I think that it's kind of helped, right? It's
like bring some positivity and like a different, just something completely different. Than
and also community news. Because it's I try to the best of my ability to incorporate the whole span of Oklahoma because KGOU is Oklahoma wide, but there's definitely something to like. I believe real strongly in community. It's like our only way out. It's our only way that we're going to get through anything or handle anything, or we all just kind of have to put our backs against one another. And so the idea that, it airs every Thursday evening in the middle of All Things Considered, a lot of the time my lead-in on KGOU will be some really, really downer stories, man. It'll be real, bleak political stuff, global politics, global news, global disaster. And then there's like this 5-minute little respite of like, yes,
it's like, here's something,
all of that acknowledged,
something cool going on.
But like something cool going on, but something cool that's happening that you might not even be aware that is happening here in your community, in your city, in your state. This is what's going on with cool people, young people, a lot of the time. And I love that being this little kind of oasis dropped into this desert of bleakness. And I've loved it. It's a lot of work. It's probably more work than I've ever put into anything else maybe in my life. And it is tough to produce every single week, but I love it. I absolutely do.
Because, it was kind of something I was thinking about. I'm going to jump, in my order real quick, but like, what is the process from the start? I mean, I kind of, like I said, whenever I realized they were like 6 minutes, I was like, okay, these are like, a lot shorter than I expected them to be. But even though there are 6 minutes, like you've already mentioned, that you'll talk to somebody for 2 or 3 hours to get like condensed. So can you talk about like kind of maybe from the conception, or whenever you find out you're going to be interviewing someone, kind of what the process is to get to the end result?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really fundamentally any different than any of the other work that I do. Okay. People reach out to me, I reach out to people, somebody connects us, whatever it is. If there's just somebody cool, and it's nice because I can cast such a huge, wide net. There's people. There's already a lot of people I've talked to for on the scene that whatever it is that they're doing wouldn't really work in like the OKC Free Press.
Right. It's like you're not going to really write a whole article about, like the hula hoop woman.
Yeah. That's super. And like if she had some really cool like event that was going on or something, then maybe you could kind of do that for Free Press. But like to just be able to tell people stories and just say, here's somebody that's just doing something regularly every week, this is cool. I love being able to do that. In fact, that was one of them that I think a few different people recommended me to.
Yeah. I've seen her. I've seen her because she'll be at Factory Obscura's things a lot. So I've seen her there. But
and every week at Scissortail Park.
Yeah.
So more often than not, what happens, I connect with people however it is that I connect with them. We tend to set something up. If we're going to just kind of like meet on a neutral ground, it's actually at the sound bar. So because of my connections there, because of my friendship with Jay,
it's a good place to meet.
Yeah, and because again, Jay was very instrumental in the show even happening, and he's the one that really kind of introduced me to KGOU and kind of really helped set up and develop the show. Soundbar has been really cool and really inviting of just like, come up here like on our off nights when nobody's here at the bar. Like I said, I used to work there, so I know how to turn all the lights on and everything. And then I'll set up my own little setup almost exactly like this.
Just little microphones and
and then we'll just chat and we'll just I never go into it with pre-written questions or real regimented stuff. I try not to just ask a lot of the real kind of obvious stuff because it's different. A lot of people come into it thinking, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we're going to talk for like an hour or 2 hour podcast or something. Right. But it's never that. What I'm looking for from people, my job is just to get people talking. And I want to hear their kind of emotional insights. And I want to hear their very unique perspectives and how they feel about things. Because all of the other blunt information is stuff that I'm just going to fill in my script. Yeah. So when I started developing the show, I didn't have any idea what it was going to be. I had how to do it, really. I had no idea. I mean, just like anything else I've ever done, I had a radio show and thought, I've never produced a radio show. I don't know what I'm doing. But I've listened to so much radio, and I've listened to KGOU explicitly for 20 years.
You know exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, I know what a KGOU show sounds like.
It should be.
My sample show was the local filmmaker Katie Hightower, she's awesome. She made a film called Haley's Game that was a full feature. It won Best Pride feature at Dead Center last year. And I was already going to be seeing the film, and I was already going to be sitting down with her and some of the other filmmakers to kind of chat about it afterwards for a big profile on Free Press. Okay. And I just said, hey, I know we're supposed to meet up. I know we're supposed to already chat about this. Would it be cool if I just brought some mics and recorded it so that I can figure out how to do like a sample show?
That was your practice kind of run.
Yeah, that was my sample that I sent to KGOU. Okay. And so I had this great conversation with her, this great interview with her, and she gave me such fantastic insights, and I had no idea what to do with it. And this is like it gets down to the night before they need the sample show. Oh, yeah. And I have this whole like near breakdown where I'm pacing around the house and I'm telling my wife, I'm in over my head. Yeah. I don't know how to make a radio show. I don't know what I'm doing. And she's like, calm down. You know what they sound like. Yeah. You know what you're doing. You're going to figure it out. And I kind of calmed myself, sat down, and went, okay, I could try making something in an entirely different format. I could try doing something where it's primarily her comments. And then I'm thinking, do I edit her comments together down into something, 4 or 5 minutes long? And then do I do the like cheesy press junket thing where I pretend that I'm asking her these questions? And all at once, it just kind of dawned on me like, no, don't reinvent the wheel. Do the exact same thing you always do. Write it exactly as if it's your own article, and then just read it into a microphone instead. And that's what I did.
That's definitely something I noticed about the show is like it's much more journalistic as far as like you're saying. It's just like you're reading an article, but it's just because you would just if you're doing an article with quotes or with someone's quote or whatever in quotes, and it would just be what they said. Instead, it's just a recording.
Exactly. It just cuts to it.
Perfect.
And then I send that in to them. They really liked it. Come to find out, the reason that they even really liked me in the first place was because they liked my writing. Yeah. So they want my show to be heavy on my writing, and I say, cool. Yeah. That's great with me. And then also, I know KGOU voice, know. This is on the scene. Right. Like I sit in front of a mic and you just kind of go into it. If you listen to it, you know what NPR voice sounds like.
Yeah, that's something I noticed too. I was curious just because like, I don't know if I was to do it, right? It's like, I don't know. It's interesting because it's like, I would love that kind of opportunity, obviously, or, if I've always said for, since we started doing this, it's like, how do I get somebody to pay me to do this?
Yeah,
and
it's tough.
I think that hopefully I'll figure it out one day.
I mean, for podcasts, for long form stuff, for internet stuff, it's all about sponsorship. And there are people that are, if you can demonstrate that you've got an audience, there are definitely people.
That's definitely, because I kind of know that avenue and how to get there, but it's like, okay, I'm still in that process of building the audience, and it's like trying to, which
that's
slow going, but that's just how it is, I think, and
but in terms of like the actual like physical process of making the shows,
and then you're kind of
after the interview,
then you kind of parse it down, right? Kind of figure out the story,
and it's every episode basically is done in one day.
Really, yeah.
Which.
How long does it take? Yeah, exactly. Do you know, or average?
12 to 13 hours of work, maybe. But that's usually compressed into one day.
Yeah.
Every episode airs for the first time on Thursday evening. KGOU generally receives every episode from me early Thursday morning.
Yeah.
So it's almost exactly the South Park schedule.
Yeah. So and you do it every week, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, unless I take a week off, but ostensibly it is a weekly show. Yes.
So it's like, and so you do you start like, I mean, that weekend with kind of the process of the next episode? I mean, as soon as it's out, you kind of kind of rolling
to any ability that I have, I try and I hope to bank some interviews so that I have a few to work from. Like right now I kind of do. Like I'm not scrambling for an interview this week because of the ridiculousness of my brain and my workflow. More often than not, I'm usually scrambling for an interview at the beginning of the week. So Monday or Tuesday, I meet with somebody, we talk. I end up with 2 to 3 hours a lot of the time of raw material. That a lot of the time that'll be Tuesday evening. Wednesday morning I wake up, I start, scrubbing through, finding, cutting, and chopping comments down.
The clips that you want.
I'll usually have all of the comments made out of everything that the person said. I'll find it's almost always the 5 best comments that I can edit together and kind of chop down.
Do you ever take notes? I assume you kind of take notes while the interview is happening. Maybe it's like, you write down a time code.
If I remember.
Yeah.
And often I don't.
Yeah, it'd be tough. I mean, I feel like.
If I remember, what I do is I'll flag the audio basically as it's recording. I'll just kind of drop a flag on something cool that they said. You know what I mean? But I also don't want to broadcast that because you don't want to tell people you don't want to impart to them while they're talking that oh, that was a good comment.
Yeah, you kind of break up the flow.
Well, it breaks up, but then it people get in their head about it. They start thinking oh, well, what was good about that comment? They start trying to kind of perform for you, and I want them to do the opposite. It's one of the reasons I talk to people for as long as I do is because for a lot of people, and especially people that aren't used to talking into a mic and interviewing, it could take an hour and a half before they open up.
Yeah.
I mean,
I kind of get that. I mean, that's usually when we do a podcast and stuff like that. It's that's why even with you, it's I sat down, I'll start the recording, and then I'll just talk to them for maybe 15 minutes and just kind of get into, some kind of comfortability before it's okay, now we're actually going to start the show.
Yeah, exactly. And that happens.
Which helps.
That happens a lot. I am a big believer in exactly that. Almost every single recording that I have of the raw guests has some moment where they're wait, are we going already? Are we already recording? And it's oh, yeah. Don't worry about it. We're just chatting. You don't even have to worry about it.
That's the best thing is to get somebody into it. Just comfortable. They forget about what they're actually there for.
And I've made multiple episodes out of conversations that were 2 hours long, where practically the entire the entire edit of guest comments that I'm taking comes from the last 15 to 30 minutes.
Yeah,
because
the best.
yeah, sometimes even with Jarvix, my episode with Jarvix, we had a really, really great and just kind of he came over to my house. Actually, that was even just come over to my it's great. And we talked and talked and talked and talked, and then he just lit up in the last like 20 minutes, and just spoke and spoke and became so eloquent and so insightful, and had all this beautiful stuff to say about the community and about how he feels about it. And even he just like spoke and spoke and spoke, and then I took a deep breath and was like, I don't know where all that came from. And I'm like, that's why I talk to people for so long.
Yeah, it makes sense. I loved hearing that too, because it's like I said, I've definitely been noticing that, and just doing this show, and just like you kind of, that's why I like the long form conversation kind of podcast, because it's like it does take a while for you to really get into kind of somewhere interesting, I think,
But it's tough. And so then once I have like usually 5 good comments, like comment sections edited together, then I know what the beats are going to be. Then I write my entire script around that, and then record all of it together.
Yeah,
so.
And that's probably the easy part, right? As far as writing it, because that's kind of what you do, right?
You'd think the hardest part of every single episode is writing the introduction.
Oh yeah.
Because I know I'm going to have to relay the pertinent information. A lot of what they do, who they are, why you're even listening to them. But something that I tend to do even in all of my columns, music and film column, the show, anything, is I try to open with kind of a bigger picture way in. You know what I mean? It's usually like trying to get to the heart of like, what is this person saying? It's the same thing that I do every week with my film column. If I'm just doing like a rundown of cool movie screenings around town, I like to find a through line for them and something cohesive.
It's kind of like, just like opening, if you open a book, to read or anything, it's like you have to give the audience member, the listener, the reader, that kind of, you have to guide them into what.
Yeah, exactly. I can't open every episode by just saying like, this is on the scene. I'm Brett Fieldcamp.
Yeah.
Evan Jarvix is a guy that does all of this. That's that. People are going to go, oh, I don't know Evan Jarvix, and click off. But if I say,
give them that little, it's that kind of, what is it called? Like that interest, that spark that gets people to dive in further. Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock called it the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
It's always that. It's always I want every episode to open in a way that it first, before introducing the guest, it first introduces the concept of what this person is and what they do and because I want people to listen to it and go either, oh, that's something I've always been interested in trying, or somebody that goes, oh, I've never even thought about that, but I wonder what goes into making it. Yeah. And so if I introduce that kind of personal, emotional element of it first, if it's always like, hey, sometimes it takes people a really long time to figure out what they want to do in the scene. Or sometimes people, I think in the case of Jarvix, I opened it up talking about like, sometimes people don't even know that a scene exists and have no idea how to get into it. My dream with the show, more even than all of the rest of the work that I do with the show, it is my dream and my great hope that people will listen to it that have maybe always wanted to try their hand at doing something creative but have never had the confidence to do it. I want people to be able to hear my show and think, hey, I have an idea now of how I might be able to get into the scene.
Yeah, I was listening to a bunch of episodes today.
It's easy to do because they're short. You can binge them.
But I loved it. Just and kind of what the theme you just mentioned. It's like it kept coming back up. Was like this, these people that like wanted to do something and then got into something else, or it's like this evolution of their art, or
and that's what I always like I said, Lindsay Cox. I really wanted to focus on. She is the most fascinating person probably in the scene to me right now because she is so open about just like cross-pollinating all of her different stuff. Yeah. And that's something that I can't say about a lot of other people. And so I really kind of wanted to show that and say, hey, being a part of the creative scene doesn't mean you have to choose one thing.
Yeah. Like mash it all together.
The local author, Julie Caldwell, that writes like young adult fantasy type stuff. She had an entire photography business suffered an injury, couldn't really get out and do the photography thing anymore, and just pivoted to this other thing that she'd always kind of had in her pocket of storytelling. And I want people to know that, like, hey, even when you're, I just this past week spoke to Dan Wade, the comedian, who didn't start. He did not get on stage until his late 40s. Right. And I know for a fact that's something that a lot of people think they missed the boat. You know, maybe they wanted to do something, they've missed their opportunity, now they're too old. I don't ever want anybody to think that. Yeah. So that's always how I'm trying to kind of let people into it.
That's great. I like hearing that for sure. That's definitely something that I've always thought for myself too at this show, is like talking to people, and particularly like women or people of color that like, you know, it's like showcasing like, okay, they're, you know, it's like hopefully a young black kid will watch the episode with Cage or something and be like, oh man, Cage is so cool, I want to be like him, you know. Like,
there is nobody like him. Especially you know, now, man, now because you got him on before he exploded and became the Hawkman.
It's so wild.
I mean, that guy is, but he seriously is like, he's doing, his guitar playing is insane, and his singing and his rapping and he does everything simultaneously. Yeah.
Very cool, interesting. I think that particularly him, he's just so driven. I think that's something that you kind of have to have. I
mean, that's the through line, I think, in every single episode of On the Scene that I have done. If any one thing, creates a kind of coherence among every single one of those people, it's that they wanted to do something and just did, and tried their hand at it and said, I don't know if anybody else is going to care. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. I might fall on my face, and I'm just going to give it a shot anyway. And that's the thing that connects every single person that does anything cool.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere and just give something a shot, I think.
And be willing to look like an idiot.
That's something, I'm always trying to... It's like I look at myself as like I've always thought of this like a performing arts influencer. Like I want to like encourage the performing arts in particular, but all art. I mean, any art I think is so valuable for everyone. But so yeah, I'd love to hear that for sure. So we talked a lot about. I guess which episode are you, similar to the journalism question, but which episode are you most proud of so far? Which one do you think stands out, or maybe a couple like that?
That's I did talk. Well, I did talk about the Kyle Reed episode, which was pretty early on actually, and that really kind of gave the show its direction for, like I said, talking to a lot of people about where they started and where they kind of have ended up in the community.
I think that's fascinating personally too, because just in my own life, it's just like where my different interests have led me.
Yeah,
and it's like
same. Absolutely the same for me. The second episode of the show was Sundeep, and he's one of the most beautiful and insightful and awesome, thoughtful people in the scene already, and I love him so dearly. But I recorded that before the show was ever even on the air for the first episode, and so there was no reason that he should want to do it. There was no reason that he should feel so. He was just so open about some of his struggles with mental health. Taking a year completely away. Like after Finite Galaxy was already really exploding, and he just kind of said, I don't think that I'm psychologically in a place where I can really handle this. I need to take a big step back. And he spoke real candidly about that, and it was fantastic. And it really kind of showed me what the show could be, and showed me what kind of a platform I could offer to people to say, like, hey, this is going to be real short. It's going to be truncated. It's going to be kind of a bridge down, but this is a place where you can kind of talk about this. And so, I mean, immediately off the top of my head is the episode I did with Penny Pitchlin from Labris. So I already think that I think I've written numerous times to say that I think she's like the best songwriter maybe in Oklahoma. Bassist of Broncho, that's awesome, but as her own songwriting and as her own kind of persona now as Labris. And that episode still might have the longest unbroken, unedited comment from a guest, because she started speaking about losing her sibling after a lot of, mental health issues, after a lot of stuff. She started talking about that and how that really pushed her to create something of her own, to kind of, stop dragging her feet on things and to really kind of buckle down and appreciate the temporary nature of time. And to me, you can hear it in her voice that she is kind of getting emotional, and she is allowing herself to open up and be very honest and very candid. And I was sitting there listening to it going like, well, I can't chop this down. I can't edit this. That would be
like you had to keep it
But I am to this day, I am so thankful for that, that she felt comfortable enough to even open up and talk that candidly. Awesome. So, that's one of them. And then also, like Hooplahoma. Yeah. Totally right. That's the kind of thing where she's doing this incredible, vital, so awesome, beautiful work.
Yeah.
But I don't know that there's a lot of people that are running out to say, like, hey, you do juggling and hula hoops and balancing acts like in libraries for school children. But that's a story that needs to be told.
Oh, yeah. Especially because if you, like you said, if you hang out in Scissortail Park, I mean, you've probably seen her around.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like you don't know anything about her, so it's like it needs to be somewhere.
Yeah, and that's I want people to be able to do that. Yeah. If you Google Scissortail Park hula hoop juggling clowns or something, then I hope that the episode pops up and people say, okay,
cool. I think that's really cool. So, last question about this show kind of I had was, who do you hope to get in the future? Is like anyone in mind, or that you want to have? Because for me, it's like I always think it's like I have a list of people, not a physical list, but in my head I have a list of people that I want to get on this show. It's like I think I will get them eventually. It's just a matter of time and timing, I think.
I mean, there's definitely some. Yeah. I'd love to be able to talk to,
or maybe anyone that you think you might not be able to get for some reason. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to be able to talk to some of the people that have recently exploded out of this scene, right? So like Jason Scott,
right?
And they're super cool. They include my writing about them every time they put put up they put up my free press review of their new album next to like Rolling Stone and that was super cool.
Yeah, and a press kit or something like that.
Yeah, and I love that. So I mean, I'd like to be able to talk to that. I'd love to be able to sit down and talk to Chat Pile.
Yeah,
that'd be super cool. I've connected with them a bit, just kind of through some like email and text stuff. Quite a while ago, before they were really even in a place to have all kinds of press and PR or whatever. Those are really kind of more just like logistic, I think. If anybody wanted to, then it's kind of just about like having the time to, right? Like Chat Pile are busy dudes now. I will say, because I do actually have an episode banked already. My next episode this week. This week is going to be...
That one will be out... This episode will be out Friday, so that episode will have...
Okay, cool. So then, so...
It'll be out.
It'll be up now. Is Kim Bastian.
Okay.
She's a local, she does like a lot of photography, a lot of videography.
I follow her, but I don't know that I know her or met her before, but I definitely
know her. And so she does a lot of photography and videography work and everything, but she's a local author. She's got one published full-length memoir called Forever Elko, and 2 collections of poetry now, including a brand new one that she's just dropping called Raw. And really cool. I have a tendency to be real kind of iffy and critical about poetry. Poetry's not really my thing. I love hers. It's really blunt. It's just these visceral, deeply honest snapshots. It's not trying to be flowery, creative language or anything. It's these stories. She talked about Richard Brautigan a lot, which is another real blunt, kind of controversial poet that I've always really liked. And that's a really cool one. And she had some really interesting stuff to say just about the nature of, writing and poetry and kind of how she got into it. If I have kind of a dream episode I'd like to do, and I have floated it before, and I do I would kind of like to do it. I'd really love to have as my guest Dick Pryor, the station manager of KGOU.
Oh yeah,
because he's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in addition to that,
cool.
which that's really awesome work that I'd love to be able to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get into radio,
right?
But he's also done a bunch of other stuff, including acting.
Yeah.
He's discovered, from what I understand, I guess it's like in recent years, he's discovered this awesome love of like film acting.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And he's been in some local films recently. So I've floated that to him before. I was like, when am I going to have you as a guest? Well, we'll talk about some of your acting stuff. So that's something really creative that I do hope to do. If I get to like episode 100, maybe I'll do it then.
Hopefully, yeah. That'd be cool to see for sure.
This episode of Rhythm and Wit was brought to you by Campbell & Son Electric, Oklahoma City's trusted one-truck electrical contractor with over 20 years of experience in the field. Whether it's upgrading your home's electrical service, troubleshooting issues, or tackling small commercial projects, Campbell & Son Electric delivers top-notch work with care and attention you'd expect from a family business. Servicing areas like Del City, Edmond, Yukon, Mustang, and beyond, they're your go-to for reliable expert service. Need help with your next project? Visit CampbellandSonElectric.com today and get it done right the first time. Campbell & Son Electric, brightening Oklahoma, one wire at a time.
So, okay, we'll get into the last thing because for sure it's something I'm very interested in your own music, Meteorology. First question is, like, when did you start playing guitar? Have you, like, played since you were a kid or something? I'm just curious.
I want to say I have this real fuzzy, I'm bad with memory and dates and everything like that anyway, but it was when I was like an early teenager. I got into guitar at like maybe 13,
that's
maybe
like
14, something like that.
Pretty standard for most of us. When we get
now, that's guitar though.
Yeah.
So I got my first drum set when I was 5 years old.
Oh, okay.
And I was never very good at it. I could keep up with AC/DC, right?
Nice.
That's kind of that's the goal when you're 5 years old.
Your first instrument or your first musical at all was
technically it was a drum set, and I never got very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
When my brother got into like junior high band, he got into percussion, and then he developed this real love of percussion and drumming, and then my drum set became his first drum set, and he very quickly evolved beyond
younger brother?
Older
brother,
okay,
cool.
And so he took off from there and really became this just remarkable drum. I mean, immediately surpassed anything that I'll ever be able to do
Something
on drums.
about drums. I have a drum set. I used to play it. I mean, I can do a little bit, probably similar to when you were 5.
I've always said the same thing about drumming. I've always said drums are the easiest instrument to play, and they are the hardest instrument to play well.
Right. Yeah. No.
That's what I've always said about drums.
Because I did learn the kind of the basics, and I can do some stuff with a drum kit. But I think that drums are actually my favorite instrument.
Yeah.
Like to listen to, and I think that's why I'm such a good bass player. I like playing the bass so much because so much of it is like all I have to do is just listen to the drums.
Just lock in. If you can lock in, if you've got really good rhythm. I mean, and that's going to be the case for anything. I advocate always, no matter what instrument you play, you should learn some drums too.
Yeah, I think, and it did, because the only instrument I played for probably 15 years was the bass. I tried the guitar. I could never remember the chords. I don't know. I just didn't like it, honestly.
Yeah. Well, so in that, my drum set at 5 and learned a little bit. At like 10 or 11 years old or something, I then got a bass.
Okay.
So, and I, again, like you said, you're not really in a position to write songs.
Yeah.
But I could learn a few songs. I could learn some simple bass lines and everything. So for the longest time, everything that I was playing was just entirely like rhythm section stuff. And then what eventually happened was I realized how badly I wanted to write songs. I wanted to be a songwriter, and I wanted to be a band leader or something. And so it eventually got to a point where I was like, I need to get a guitar. I need to be able to write things with chords and melodies and be able to write songs. And, by that point, my mom didn't even want to buy me a guitar because she's like, well, I bought you a drum set and a bass, so you didn't do anything with them.
Yeah.
So the compromise was that if she bought me a guitar, I also had to agree to sign up and take lessons.
Yeah.
And so, at like 13 or 14 years old, whatever, I got my first guitar. And like later that week, like traded my bass for my first electric guitar at the same time. I got an acoustic to learn on. And then,
nice.
And then I also was signed up to take lessons and stayed with that for years. Wow, and learned just kind of through, like, it was in the back of Rawson's Music, over Southside.
Yeah, I've been there before. Is it still open? I think it is.
Rawson's, I think, is still open. I would be shocked if the guy I learned guitar from is still there. But yeah, he at the time was this older, really advanced jazz dude named Mackey. I have no idea what his last name was, but his name was Mackey.
That's awesome.
He had this remarkable ear.
Mm-hmm.
He could learn anything by ear in the time it took to listen to the song.
Wow,
so I would bring in like a cassette tape of just like all my favorite songs.
Yeah.
He'd listen to the song, figure it out by ear, teach me how to play all of it. But his approach was always, because again, being a jazz guy, you could bring him any song. No matter how badly I wanted to learn that guitar solo, he wasn't going to teach me the solo.
Yeah.
He would find the key, teach me the key, and then give me the tools to improvise and take a solo over it, right? So he comes from the jazz world of, now this is when you take a solo.
Yeah. It's like you don't, just rip off somebody else's solo.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I learned Stairway to Heaven from him, and he taught me the whole song, and then just taught me the key to solo in. And that was always his mentality, and I loved that. And so that was, it wasn't just like tablature or something. Like, okay, cool, you play this and this and this to play these chords. That was his way into, he would learn a song and then go, cool, so you're going to play this chord and this chord. He would teach me the chords, build things out from the songs I wanted to learn. And it was awesome. And that's how I learned everything. And after a while, I ran out of songs I really cared to learn. And he said, what about theory? Do you want to learn some theory? And I was like, yeah. And so we went up through, at least intermediate bebop theory. All stuff that I have now completely forgotten.
Yeah.
But
because you don't necessarily play like a jazz. I don't listen to your stuff and think jazz at all. I mean, you mentioned you love jazz, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean, it's I listen to more jazz and more ambient than probably anything else at this time. And then if you can ever find me anything that like crosses those things over, I become obsessed with it. There's an album from Portico Quartet called Terrain that is the exact nexus between ambient and jazz, and it's my favorite thing.
So is that kind of your influences, or what is it like? I mean, specifically with your style, is there anything like that you listen to and you want to try to emulate with that, or I don't know, it's just...
Yeah, always. I mean,
because your style is very like ambient, like you said, definitely.
The stuff that I've released so far is, I guess, for sure. So, like right now, I'm kind of in between like phases of Meteorology, and the next phase is all going to be like shorter, song-oriented stuff with vocals.
Okay,
Everything I've released so far, and the album that I released this year, is all really long-form, experimental, instrumental stuff. My biggest influences on that end of the spectrum are all the post-rock bands. Like Godspeed You Black Emperor is...
That's what I was thinking, because it's very like solo-y. Like, I mean, in your stuff, it's just like you're kind of just soloing the whole time almost.
It's a lot of... some of it especially, Start Where You Are, is primarily like three separate kind of guitar solos.
I was listening to like the first thing you put out, I think it was 2023... on
that a long time ago was 13 months.
I don't know if it was, I just remember, I don't know the name specifically, it was like a 20-minute song track. Yeah, and it was like something recorded in the bedroom.
13 months live from the bedroom.
I thought it was great too, because I put it on and I was like doing something else, and I almost like, you just get lost in it. It's great to listen.
And I really appreciate that. And that's probably the one that's the most Godspeed You Black Emperor-ish. Emperor-ish. Because it's got a lot of like noise type stuff in it, and it kind of it turns in and out from that. So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of explosions in the sky. Everything that I ever do for my entire life will draw from Sigur Rós, which is my favorite band on earth. Okay. They're my favorite band ever. And everything that I do one way or another draws from Radiohead.
Yeah.
They're maybe the most influential act maybe for me.
Sure. Would you say, like, especially the next phase, like you said, are you trying to go towards that type of those, like, Radiohead style?
For sure. Bit? I mean, I'm the kind of artist that every song is kind of its own thing, and so every song will have like its own set of influences. Okay. I've got what I think is going to end up being the first single that I'm going to drop, and that I'm hopefully going to kind of try to push a little bit more.
Get some,
That one to me is real Radioheady. It's real In Rainbow Z, King of Limsy kind of Radioheady. And then the other song that will likely come after or be somewhere else around there is almost entirely pulled from Dawn Chorus from Tom York. It's a solo Tom York track that's one of my favorite. I became obsessed with this song and ended up kind of doing my own kind of thing with it. So that's really just, I was in a band, was in like a rock band, a kind of prog rock band for 17 years.
Oh, okay. Wow. I didn't realize that. I always assumed that this was kind of a new thing for you to get out and perform, but you've been performing for
this has always been, I mean, the music community here. Yeah, Meteorology
is your first thing that you're doing, like, with you writing and doing that kind of stuff? Or?
Yeah, well, I mean, by myself, right. Yes. I've never released anything else solo or attempted anything else solo that was outside of the name Meteorology. Okay. No, I was in a band for about. It was called Saturn.
Oh, I remember. I've heard of them. I don't know that I ever saw you guys though, but I remember from my band days in the early 2010s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and even by then we had been together for a really long time.
Wow, yeah. I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was about 17 years, and then there was a smaller little kind of interstitial thing we called the Echo Wire. That was still myself and my brother on drums. We had a different bassist at the time. We dropped a couple singles. I think we did maybe 2 singles, and then that just things just. The post-COVID world has just been real complicated. It did a number on a lot of people's brains, a lot of people's mental states, and so I don't know. My band performing days are kind of. I don't know if they're on hold. I don't know if they're behind me, whatever. But I was kind of given the opportunity to develop something of my own when Jarvix launched Mental Mondays.
Okay, yeah, it was Mental Mondays, and then they started doing Weirder Wednesdays.
Yeah, it turned into Weirder Wednesdays. But at first, for about like a year and a half or something like that, it was Mental Mondays. Like the 4th or whatever Monday of every month at Hubbly Bubbly Hookah Lounge.
Yeah. They used to do an open mic there too for a little while.
They used to do a lot of stuff. They just really the only reason that it even changed and went to the Opolis to be Weirder Wednesdays was just because Hubbly Bubbly decided to kind of go in a different direction with their programming. But he decided he was going to do it, and he just put out a thing on Facebook or whatever to say hey, who do I know that does solo experimental acts? And I had never done anything like that before, but knew that I had been thinking about it and kind of wanted to, and just said, I think I can. And he was he messaged me privately and was, okay, cool. I'm doing this new showcase. You'll be the first artist on the first night. And I was like, whoa. Okay, well, bill me as Meteorology. That's a name I've been wanting to use for a long time. And not only did I want to use it, but I had already dug in to see, and nobody else was using it.
So it's available.
And I'm well, now if it's available, I have to. I have a responsibility
to. It's a good name, especially for the vibe. I mean, it kind of, I don't know why it fits with the style.
Thank you. I mean, I really appreciate that, and also
kind of a weird, trippy kind of. I don't know.
Well, and also, it's a name. It's a name that's really, really close to me, partially because it's a little bit about where I'm from.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot about, like I say, I have really serious storm anxiety. And so it is, Batman dresses like a bat because he's afraid of bats, right? And I'm like, okay, we'll call him afraid of the weather. So it's meteorology. There's also, admittedly, there's another layer to it that a lot of people don't seem to pick up on. Like, everybody loves to do all kinds of weather imagery and stuff to it. In my mind, it's just as much a reference to the Weather Report, like the old jazz fusion band, but really it's a reference to the Weather Underground, which was like a kind of underground leftist organization in the 60s and 70s. Okay. And so it does kind of
has some under
there's a lot of political implications to it, which is something that I'm deeply invested in. And
it makes sense. I like it. Definitely, I love that. Like, anytime there's like a name that has like some thought put into it, it's more than just like, oh, it sounds cool.
But I mean, I
think that resonates and makes it better.
These days, every name is taken. It's impossible to come up with a new cool one.
I know, for sure. Especially, coming up with band names. It's like the worst part. I mean, there's a lot of bad things about trying to put a band together. The name is probably my absolute least favorite part.
That's why I just decided to run with that one when it was available. And people seem to dig it, and they respond to it and everything.
It's a good name.
And then that's why I named the album Every Last Monday.
Yeah.
Because it was my tribute to Mental Mondays. So all four of those long form pieces on that album were individual pieces that I wrote and performed for Mental Mondays.
Yeah, okay.
And the shot on the album cover is a shot that a friend of mine took of me in the middle of the first ever performance of Competitive Martyrdom.
Okay.
So that's actually, I can look at that picture and know what part of the song I'm playing, actually, which is cool.
That's awesome.
And so then wherever I go from here is anything I want it to be, because it's just me.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the best part, and that's something that I think about too. And or going back to the kind of conversation earlier about the music scene and how it's changed or what people are into. But I think that solo artist type of act is so much better than having a full band or a band that's like, if one of the members leaves and the whole thing falls apart,
Yeah, I mean,
it's like it's easier for a solo artist to stay together because it's just one person, and because I think there's so many bands that like go away and fall apart before they've ever gotten a chance to really become something because of the group and having to keep that group together. Whereas if you're a solo artist, it's
I mean, I was talking last week, I think. So I'm a giant Pink Floyd fan.
Yeah,
huge Floyd fan. Mm-hmm. The big argument and big debate among the Pink Floyd fandom world is, Roger Waters versus David Gilmour. Gilmour is, without any question, if I'm just entirely honest with myself, he's my favorite guitarist. Mm-hmm. He's the basis of a lot of my melodic sensibility. He's what I want my tone to sound like and everything. But I do not care for Pink Floyd, really, after Roger Waters leaves the band. Mm-hmm. And when Gilmour becomes the leader of the band, I lose a lot of interest in it. Yeah. I don't really get that interested in a lot of Roger Waters' solo stuff. Yeah. It's about that band and that combination of members.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that I've always loved about playing in a band is that, like, you can do whatever. It's like there's artists or individuals that can play every instrument in a band. They can play drums, they can play guitar, bass, and record everything and create something, but it's just coming from one person. But then when you get 4 or 5 different people doing all those things, that's something that none of them individually could ever do. Yeah. Because it's a culmination of so many influences.
And that's why I'm.
I think that's the magic of it.
I get weirdly specific about my like exact language of things. Yeah. So like I get my favorite band is Sigur Rós. Yeah. They absolutely are. And they have stayed that way even actually through some lineup changes and stuff. But I always say like my musical hero is Peter Gabriel. Yeah. I'm deeply in love with Peter Gabriel, invested in all of his music. Mm-hmm. I mean, even as deeply invested in all of his extracurriculars as well, right? A lot of his humanitarian work and so much stuff that he's done. Unfortunately, lately there is this thing on his social media that's incorporating some AI stuff that's been bothering me, whatever. But
so
it's coming for everybody.
I know.
But that's another example. He comes out of Genesis,
Yeah.
and I love the Peter Gabriel era of Genesis. I do not listen to that band after he leaves, but he comes out of that and starts this solo thing that ends up being an entirely sonically different thing. There's almost nothing that he does as a solo artist that ever sounds like the band that he came from. But in exactly the same way, he's done everything in every different style of songwriting and incorporating world music, and he's done real ambient stuff and instrumental stuff and film scores and albums and collaborations and covers and orchestras, and if he does it, then it's just him. And I love that. It's Neil Young is the same way. I love him so much, and no matter what he sounds like, he's just Neil Young. So that's where I've been lately. If I want to put a band together and record a country album and call it Meteorology, I can. Nobody can stop me. Right. And it'll be just as much me as anything else that I make. So
I don't know. There is something that, and I think that's something that I think a lot about, especially because for me, I'm never really gonna. I mean, I could, right? It's like I could do something similar to Meteorology and do everything myself, but it's like I would have to. I like having the band because it's like you can get a really, really great guitar player. Even if I started tomorrow and tried to become a guitar player, it's like it would take me years to get to a point where I would want it. I could just meet someone like you and be like, hey, Brett, you've been playing for 20 years. It's like so you can have these people that come together and have all this experience that's like neither of the other have, you know. So it's like, I don't know. I love that idea of playing with other people, but
and again, coming from
all, it's all okay. It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, everything's different, and there are absolutely times often where I really miss just being in a room and playing music with other people.
There's something to it too. It's very magical and very like something happens.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how much I enjoy, no matter how much fun I have as Meteorology, and I've got my pedal set up that I play bass with my feet and everything. No matter how cool I think that sounds and how much fun, there is a feeling that happens when you're in a room or on stage with people. And like I say, I've never come from the jazz world. I've never tried to play with, but coming from the same.
They get real mad if you're not.
There's that.
If you think, because I've always kind of appreciated it too, but it's like I would never dare try it. Just I have no training whatsoever.
But I love like improvising. I love jamming and just kind of playing off the cuff. And when you're playing with other people and everybody's kind of improvising and you hit on something, it's the coolest feeling in the entire world. It's a feeling that there's no other way to get.
I think that's something that's kind of the drug that I've chased for many years, all my years of playing in bands. It's like this kind of that whatever that is, that magical moment that's like you're just because it just that was like the entire basis of my first band was just like that's all we did. We would just get in the room. There's three of us, me and Nick and our drummer John, and like. We didn't know what the hell we were doing, but we were just making noises.
That's what's so fun.
Something magical happened. You're like, holy shit, this is the best thing. And then it's just like, we just kept doing that for, until we built a catalog of music.
Yeah. I love that, man. I mean, some of the greatest albums in history are recorded that way, right? Like that's what Paul Simon liked to do for a long time.
But I don't know. But anyways, so let me get to a few of these questions, and then one big question why do you, similar to the question I asked you about the journalism stuff and writing about this music scene, but why do you feel it's important to write and perform your own music? I mean, in particular, inside of you, as far as like anything come to mind?
See, that's a tougher question to answer. Well, it's a tougher question to answer though, just because like.
But why? I guess my question is like, why do you feel compelled to do it at all? I guess is kind of the question I'm interested in.
That is genuinely hard to answer because I just
just something you do.
It is. Okay, so obviously, as just about anybody would, I obviously love the idea of lots of people hearing it and lots of people appreciating it and wanting to hear it and being able to play in front of big giant audiences or play big giant venues.
It's like just sharing your ideas with a lot of people.
But admittedly, partially like talking about what's going on with Spotify and what's going on just with the entire kind of music and entertainment world, it's changing in a way that's making it feel increasingly impossible that you're ever going to be famous.
Yeah.
Right. So more and more I'm really kind of accepting and understanding the importance of just focusing on this community, and there comes a point, right? I'm not young anymore by any means, there comes a point where you ask yourself, why am I doing this? If I'm doing it just to be famous, if I'm doing it just to have some big giant audience or something, maybe I have missed the boat on that. I don't know. You really don't. I know there's some awesome people.
Yeah, it's like there's plenty of examples of people like hitting, actually becoming really, really big and famous in their late 30s or 40s or whatever. I mean, but I think that ultimately too, and I've thought of this for like probably the past 5 years or so, or maybe even longer, but I honestly think that most of us do get into it, right, for that reason. It's like we want to be famous, or we want to be, like freaking Red Hot Chili Peppers or something like that, mega famous type. I mean, that's like the ultimate dream, right? But it's like that's so unlikely for most of us to ever I mean, probably like there's like a 0.001% of people to ever make it to that. So I think it's so. I don't think that that's a good reason to want to do this. So I think you have to want to do it, even if you're only playing for 2 or 3 people. I mean, you still have to have that same love.
Well, and that's really what I mean. Like, when you kind of reach a point, whether it's age, whether it's just a better understanding of the unlikelihood of that because the industry is changing so substantially, you know what I mean? The biggest artists in the entire world are going to start being AI generated artists. One of them already is. Like the number one band on Spotify for a while was a fake AI generated band. So when things are changing that dramatically, you have to kind of come to terms with, okay, well, I'm not probably going to be famous. I'm probably not going to be playing the Super Bowl halftime show. Right. You know what I mean? As cool as that is, it kind of forces you to reevaluate and say, okay, well then why am I doing it? Because if that's the only reason that I'm doing it, there's no point in continuing. And so, that's something that we all want, and it sounds like a great.
I think that's something when you're young. That's kind of the reason you have or whatever. But I think as you get older, you realize. That,
or the dream of that kind of drives you a bit. Like I don't think that I definitely never started writing music and started writing songs to be famous. Right. But there's always that kind of like, carrot on a stick out there.
It's kind of like, because that's what we've seen as as a human on Earth that has television or the internet. It's like that's the end goal or the highest level of achievement in this that you could get. And
that's what you're supposed to want. Or that, I always even said for years and years, like my only dream was to be able to make enough money playing music that I didn't have to have another job.
Right.
And, now that's even out the window because not only does playing music not really make you any money, but I don't care what you're doing, you have to have more than one job now. So.
You're never, it doesn't matter. Even.
So there's definitely that.
Even for famous, people that actually are, I'm sure they're doing more than just playing music to make what they need.
Yeah. Well, because everybody's got their tie-in deals and their shows and whatever else. But I don't know. At this point, I can't help myself but write music. At this point, it just comes out of me, and I have at least 3 guitars within arm's reach every time that I'm writing an article, making a show or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm just always playing. I always just reach for something and I'm playing. So I'm always writing new stuff.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I just really like to share my stuff with people. And I feel real strongly about it. I'm really proud of it. You know, I think that I make good music. It's music that I want to listen to. And for as subjective as it is, you should. If you make music, you should think that it's really good music.
I think that's the key. Because I think about this a lot too. I mean, there's this idea of like writing for other people or writing stuff for yourself or creating art or whatever. It's like, and it is, I think that ultimately, if you want to be successful, you have to kind of find a balance, you know, and it's like you have to love what you're doing for you and create something that you would want to consume, but you also have to kind of pay attention to that. But if you pay too much attention to what other people want, it becomes like not good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing about fame. If that's really your primary driving force, then all you have to do really is follow whatever everybody wants, especially these days. You know what I mean? You can get online, you can see what's trending, and you can just start chasing down every trend, and you can probably start collecting, you know, followers and fans based on the algorithm. You know, in my case, I have always written and I have always made music. Even before I could play instruments when I was a tiny kid, I would still write songs in my head all the time. And I would still imagine myself on stage in front of an audience all the time. So, you know, for as much as I do a lot of episodes of On the Scene about people that started down one path and thought that they were on one trajectory and then, you know, pivoted to something else. And that's never been the case for me. I have never in my life ever wanted to be anything other than a writer and a musician. And I guess in my mind, it's always kind of been that the writing is usually the conceptual and analytical stuff. And I want to be able to say things about this and comment on things and have insights and perspective. And then the music has always been the emotional part of that, right? So like all of the songs that I write, you know, instrumental or otherwise, or my lyrics or whatever, you know, they're usually commenting on the same stuff that I'm seeing in the news or writing about in the news. It's just from the emotional part of my brain.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because, I mean, you see something on the news and it makes you feel a certain way, so you take that feeling and channel it through an instrument.
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought about it exactly like that, but I do think a lot about music as an emotional expression because that's, you know, that's why I love music so much because I've never been the best with words or communicating. I mean, I've obviously gotten a lot better at it. Because I think
I mean, you're doing pretty well here.
You know what I mean? But yeah, most people wouldn't know that because I mean, it's fascinating because I'm an introvert, like heavily introverted, and like most people that I meet, especially these days, would never think that of me because I'm always out. I'm always around other people, talking and meeting people. But it's like that's very, very draining for me, which I love it. But it's still it's taken me a long time to get here. But anyways, I've always struggled with communicating with my words, so I think that's why I love music so much because it's a wordless expression. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's
or it can be unless you're singing, but
it's an ineffable expression. You know what I mean? It's the way I genuinely do believe that music is the natural way that human beings work to process and express emotions that are beyond words, right? Because words are
that's something I've thought. I heard a quote or something. I'm sure it's a famous quote, but it's like music is what language wishes it could be, or something like that.
That's or you know, there's a quote that I think is attributed to Zappa. Sometimes I don't know if it's actually him or not. That art is how we decorate space. Music is how we decorate time.
Yeah,
and I've always loved that. Right, too, but I love words. I love words. Maybe more than anything else in the world. And I feel like I have a command of them and I feel like I do well with them and I use them to my advantage. And that's one of the few advantages I've ever had in my life. Like I said, I can't do math to save my life. But I think part of having a really good working understanding of words is understanding the inherent limitations of them. And I don't like the idea of believing that you should be able to explain everything that you feel. I think that feelings need to be understood and accepted as being way beyond that. Your emotions tend to come before your analytical brain.
Yeah.
And therefore they cannot be that easily analyzed or explained. So to me, that's always kind of been it.
Yeah,
my intellectual side comes out in writing and my emotional side comes out in music, and I feel like I need them both to balance them. I think that otherwise you end up with you end up with the kind of classic, jerky, curmudgeonly, chain-smoking, alcoholic reporter trope.
Yeah.
Because they're constantly digesting all of this intellectual stuff and have no outlet for their emotions.
It's like, I always thought about journalism, especially working for the news for 8 years. Like I've never been a reporter, on that side of it but it's so depressing. Like I think, because I would sit in the office where I worked, and we had the news on all the time. Yeah. It's everywhere. So it's like, but I had to stop, just actively block it out.
Yeah.
Because it's like you have to build up a certain type of some kind of barrier against it, because it's so much bad things that all constantly, especially I'm sure having to being a reporter or a journalist, it's it makes sense that you have to, like you just said, that kind of curmudgeon reporter. It's like that's such a trope, but it's so true, because if you don't have that other side to balance it,
and I don't smoke.
Yeah.
And I don't drink. I don't drink very much.
If you were a musician,
maybe. Yeah. What I tell everybody is that the classic tropes of the reporter are lots of coffee and lots of booze and lots of chain smoking.
Yeah.
But I don't drink that much, and I don't smoke and never have. So I've just replaced all of it with more coffee.
Yeah.
So I drink like 3 times the recommended amount of coffee a day. And that tends to be, so I don't sleep much. I've always had trouble with sleep.
Yeah.
So I replace all of my time usually with just making things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I do a lot of video editing.
Yeah.
I obviously do a lot of audio editing. I record, I think I'm going to stop recording all of my own music at home.
Yeah.
Because
then you have way too much work to do.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I really, really badly want to shorten the time.
Yeah.
Between there's a singer-songwriter named Josh Ritter. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's one of my favorites on earth. I think he's one of the best writers of literally any medium. He writes novels too, and he does, it's incredible. He's spoken real recently about how his only goal now is shortening the time between the idea and releasing the idea to the world. And that's what I want to do. And trying to record and mix and edit and everything and do all of that myself on everything is just not conducive.
That's been my goal for the past. Definitely a recent goal is about shortening and everything and taking less time to do all this stuff that I do. Yeah. And it's because I feel like obviously it takes a long time whenever you're kind of getting into doing this kind of podcasting stuff. It's you start out and you don't know how to do any of it really, or you have an idea but it takes you a long time, but it's now I know what to do. I could turn this episode around tomorrow, pretty easily if I wanted to these days. But you
get good at it. But all the songs on that album on Every Last Monday I sat on for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't want to do that anymore.
So we can kind of get wrapped up here in a few. I had a few last kind of questions, just kind of more general questions. Let's see. I want to see. What's the biggest challenge that you're currently facing? Anything in particular?
Time management.
Yeah.
Is probably the single biggest. Time management, burnout.
Yeah.
I think that everybody is.
Yeah.
I think that it's a big part of modern living is burnout, unfortunately. But interestingly, I think that this change in position to this kind of arts and entertainment editor position it does actually kind of change things. You know, like I say, it takes the it takes at least one of my big features kind of off my plate every week. Which is great, and I still might do some of them, and I still likely will do some of them, especially for like museum openings and stuff.
It's probably not going to be as constant.
Yeah, and it's not like at the end of every week, I'm not already thinking ahead to like, okay, what's my new big feature going to be next week? Have I reached out to the right people? Are people ignoring me and avoiding me? Because that happens a lot, especially in city government. People will ignore and avoid you. So that's helping a bit. But yeah, I mean, time management, and then a big part of time management I'm trying to remind myself is creating time for leisure and relaxation. So I really, really badly want to start building time into my week to like play video games.
Yeah,
I haven't played a game in a long time.
Take a time off to
read a book.
Definitely important for sure, and it's something that I've heard about people doing, just like booking yourself in your calendar. Like this time I'm playing this game.
Yeah, and that's super important.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something you kind of have to do, especially whenever you know, I'm sure you're someone that's like you're always filling your time up as much as you can. And it's like for people like that, I think it's important to like actually just put it in your calendar that you're taking this day off or these hours off.
Yeah, that's I did that actually a couple weeks ago. Yeah. I let everybody know in advance, and I scheduled myself like 5 straight days off of work, which I hadn't done since 2021. Right. I hadn't had like I don't think I even had maybe 4 days off in a row since 2021.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting to that point where I'm just like, I usually take Mondays off, right? So today was my day off of work, right? Of delivering food. But it's like I'm never actually off for the full day.
Yeah, exactly.
I was doing this and, you know, getting ready for that. But
that's how I am too.
But I don't know. I think I still had a good day, like just a break from that kind of grind of your normal life.
Oh, I know it.
So, and then kind of what does success look like to you as far as like what are you hoping to achieve next, I guess, or in the future?
That's actually something I've thought really deeply about, and even recently, like in the past couple of years. The kind of conclusion that I came to is that, you know, I don't think that success ever is monetary.
Yeah.
If you tell yourself that it is, then I don't think you're ever going to be satisfied, right? There's always going to be somebody with more money, and there's always going to be, you know, more to make.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that success is the respect of your community, and that your community is really the question. It's about what do you want your community to be, right? If you believe that the community whose respect that you want is the general public of the entire world, then you probably aren't going to feel successful unless you are the biggest artist on earth and you're selling, you know, millions of copies of your album or something. If your community is like the internet or the subreddits that you're a part of, right? Then if you're the top commenter in your favorite subreddit, then you might really feel like you're cool. You might feel like you've made it. Like people know who you are online in your community. So it's all about what do you consider your community to be, right? If you're, you know, really down the rabbit hole of certain TikTok communities and all of a sudden you get everybody in that community following you, you're going to feel like you're really successful. I'm never going to have heard of you because I've never been on TikTok.
Right, yeah.
So more and more, that's what I keep telling myself, is that it's about the respect of your community. And I've decided, at least for the time being, I don't know what the hell's ever going to happen in the future or where anything's going to go, but at least for right now, my community is Oklahoma, and primarily Oklahoma City, and is the arts and entertainment and cultural community of Oklahoma City. And if I allow that to be what my community is, and if I allow myself to be really honest about it, I do feel respected. I feel pretty well respected, actually, in that community right now. And so one of the hardest things in my life is allowing myself to say, oh yeah, I do feel like I'm successful.
Yeah.
But that is something else that I've really been struggling with, and so that I've really been working with over the past year to say, I do feel like I'm successful.
Yeah. I love that too, because I think that's probably the best answer I've ever had to that question. Just because, like, I've never thought about it. It makes so much sense, but I do think about it in the same way too. So I think that for myself too, it's like, it's that respect from your community, and it's like I feel like I'm more successful now than I've been, I think, in my entire life because of doing this show and finding this community that I love so much. And like, I feel like that I am similar to you, very well respected in that community. And
absolutely.
It's just like, I think that's really cool. And I do think about that a lot and try to.
You've talked to all kinds of cool people that I haven't had a chance to talk to yet. And I really want to.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've always been kind of good at, is like making friends and like, getting to know, I've always been interested. And because it was about 5 years ago, it was, after, I guess, maybe 2021, 2022, coming back from the lockdown, and like realizing, because I've always thought I hated people like my whole life. I'm just like, it's like I hate just generally the public, right?
Yeah.
Like, but then I realized I don't hate everyone. I just, but and because I realized it's like, well, who do I like? It's like, I like other musicians, I like artists, and it's like now comedians. It's like, all those
thoughtful people.
All those people are the ones that I want to be around. And so once I kind of realized that, it kind of changed my whole life.
There's something actually I've talked. So we do. Periodically, we do like live on the scene events at the Soundbar.
Oh yeah,
so every plug for the Soundbar. Every the first Wednesday of every month is KGOU night at the Soundbar, and they tend to highlight a different show from their in-house programming every month. So every handful of months, it kind of cycles back to on the scene, and what I tend to do is bring in a handful of previous guests, whoever's available and whoever's up for it. We play their episodes over the sound system there, and then we set up some mics, and I chat. I play the episode and then chat with that guest in front of the audience. And usually we kind of like catch up a little bit, and then I'll take some questions. And the first time that we did it, someone asked me a question about, what was it? The question was basically about like, how did I collect so much awareness of the scene?
Yeah.
And I told the story that I tell a lot, actually, in a lot of different scenarios, that I spent so many years of my life. I spent way too many years of my life, especially coming up in the music scene and trying to make something out of that, convinced that the goal was to transcend your community.
Yeah.
The goal was to, my goal in my mind was, I don't want to be a local band, and I don't want to be an Oklahoman band. I just want to be a band. I want to be, when somebody thinks of me, I don't want them to think, oh yeah, they're local here and they're from here and they're whatever. It was always about trying to transcend that. And in my mind, it was always purely goal oriented. I spent so many years in my old band, trying to talk just to venue owners. I wanted to talk to venue owners and booking people, and I wanted to be on every show, and I wanted to book as much as possible. And I was, admittedly, we were really getting nowhere. A handful of people knew us, and some people liked us, and we were having fun playing and writing music, but it wasn't really going anywhere in what I thought it was supposed to be. And I went out entirely by myself once. Everybody else was busy. I didn't have any friends that were up to going out to a show or something. And I just went out and saw this local show at the Blue Note. By myself, didn't even know the band, loved them, ended up hanging out with them, just met this band. They were on tour. They were up from Austin, and had so much fun just going out by myself, meeting some strangers that played music. And I remember driving home and thinking, oh yeah, that's what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be about being purely goal-oriented and talk. I'm supposed to just be in the community, being a part of the... It's not about transcending the community.
Yeah.
It's really about being a part of it and deciding. You get to decide what you want your community to be. And that, I was convinced for the majority of my life that Oklahoma was just this mostly terrible, boring place. And then decided to dive into the community and realize that we are exactly as interesting as any other place.
I think so. I think I definitely agree with that, because similarly along the lines I was just talking about is realizing, what you're saying, what my community was or what I wanted it to be. But then because I wanted to leave, I was like destined to go to LA or just go somewhere else, because it's like I knew.
Same.
I was like, music is not gonna, for me, it's like I'm never gonna get anywhere where I want to be with music in Oklahoma. And I was like, this place is like, there's no creative people here. Everyone sucks. But then it's like, similarly, I kind of, Nick got into comedy was a big thing for me. Is just like meeting so many comedians and so many talented, creative comics here. And then obviously getting into the art community and like just meeting more of those people through the Mycelium Gallery, which we didn't even talk about, which I love. That's like
plug for Mycelium. I love them. That's where I did my album release show.
No, I mean, I talk about them every chance I get, for sure. But yeah, it's just that place in particular was a huge help for me to get out into the world and start meeting just people. Like I said, so many creative people that are just right here. And then I realized it's like, there are so many creative people here. You kind of have to pick up the rock and look.
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere you turn. I haven't. This is going to be my 45th episode of On the Scene.
Yeah.
And I have not yet once had a repeat guest.
Yeah.
Right. I haven't run out of people yet.
Of,
In my mind, I have this weird goal I set for myself. I don't want to do a single repeat guest until after the 52nd episode, because being that it's, again, ostensibly a weekly show, I've taken some weeks off.
So that'll be a full year.
But I want 1 year of shows that can just kind of create this big, giant, big picture tapestry of everything that can be done and all of these different ways that you can get into
all the various things.
And then after that point, I definitely want to start inviting people back and talking about how they've evolved and what else they've done.
That's an interesting thing too. So, I've never really. I mean, I've had. Not podcast guests repeat.
Yeah.
We've had, the same or similar people, or the same person might pop up in a couple of different things.
Yeah.
But I do so many different types of videos too. It's not necessarily all podcasts. We'll do interviews like with people on the street or whatever, but or like, artists or whatever on, different festivals and things like that. So that has happened, but I haven't done like a repeat podcast guest, which I think is great because like you said, after a certain amount of time, you can, definitely do that because there's going to be updates and new things to talk about. So I'm excited to get to that point.
There's already some, and I've already had some previous guests come back and be like, "When can I come back, man? I got all this other stuff to talk about." And I'm like, "Give me! I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there."
But so I think that kind of wraps it up. I mean,
awesome.
The last thing, of course, is like, where can people find you and your work? Do you want to plug the show real quick again?
Yeah, I mean, let me just kind of plug everything. So, freepressokc.com. For starters, that's going to get you Oklahoma City Free Press, and then it's always it's at Free Press OKC really on everything. KGOU.org, obviously. Public media is under threat right now, so all the help that they can get. You can hear it in the Metro at 105.7 FM and 106.3 FM. Both of those are KGOU. And KGOU.org is going to have all of the On the Scene episodes streaming. And for anybody that's made it this far into it, the little insider information is that the episodes almost always go up at least an hour before they air. So you can actually hear them first on KGOU.org. And then everybody can follow me, my personal kind of professional social media. I'm really only on Instagram. I have a Facebook I almost never interact with, but I tend to interact with Instagram a lot, and I tend to post a lot of my stuff and links to stuff. That's Brett Fieldcamp OKC on Instagram. And then I'm at Meteorology Music everywhere, really. So I've got my album. Everything's streaming on all the streamers. And I try to stay active on that Instagram at Meteorology Music. though I've been a little quiet on it right now because I'm kind of working on, like I say, kind of entering the next phase of what it's going to be. Sure. So really soon, like I said, I'm kind of waiting to have a couple tracks mastered, but really soon it's going to be the new stuff. It's, guitar solos and songs and vocals. So
awesome. And then I guess last thing, is there any upcoming shows or pieces that you might have coming up that you're excited about or you wanted to maybe shout out?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, the upcoming episodes of On the Scene for sure. And then my work never ends at Free Press. Monday and Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday is my film column and my music column. Okay. They tend to flip back and forth on days.
Is one or the other.
Yeah, so
so you don't have any shows planned for Meteorology anytime soon?
I don't currently. I'm working on some.
Yeah. Maybe a weirder Wednesday.
It's been a really packed and difficult summer for me. I'm also terribly sensitive to the heat.
Yeah.
And it's been really brutal.
Probably
so
once it cools off, I'm sure it'll be better.
Yeah, I tend to come back to life as soon as the autumn hits.
All right, well.
So yeah, just but like I say, keep an eye out at Meteorology Music, and I'm a solo act, so I can jump on a show real quickly.
For sure. It's definitely a lot easier to book in that space. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Awesome, man. No, seriously,
really
thank you.
And thanks everyone for watching. And that's it. So we'll see you next week.
Awesome.